Keemstar thinks you're cringe. Yeah, he just told me that, so.
That's totally fine. I'm totally okay with that.
Okay.
Not anything I'm not used to.
I think I've seen. Have I seen this
isn't like
person
getting
before?
hate from Keemstar like kind of like a rite of passage into being like a legitimate YouTuber?
Maybe, I don't know. I think people a lot of people think I'm things that I'm not. I think that's part of the issue. So, let's see here. Yeah, so it's either like half of the online sphere thinks I'm like a neo-Nazi or a Nazi sympathizer, and then the other half thinks that I'm like a blue-haired SJW, and I'm neither one of those things. So, can never escape it though. So. Let's see. Do we have everybody here? Looks like everybody's here. No, not everybody's cameras are on though. So I'll wait for everybody's cameras to come on.
Oh my god! I gotta put my camera on. Gay. Just kidding. All right, guys. I'm gonna mute the alerts, and we're gonna do this whole camera thing.
I
Okay.
see you, Portland, but you are frozen.
Okay.
Fabian,
Should be good
do you have
now.
any jokes that you can fill this dead air with?
Well, Papa Glut's here. He's the real jokester.
Me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you're the one.
Your song is iconic.
You got jokes.
I have a song
for days.
I have a song.
Don't you have a song where you like play a recorder?
No, I don't know what that is. I got I got Ryan
with another bald guy with a beard.
That's okay.
Then.
I got Ryan Beard to write me a song.
In the Discord chat, and I now rescind it. I have no longer.
I didn't know what that meant. I just saw exclamation points, so I kind of just.
Maybe by the end of our conversation, though, I'll re-uwu for you. So.
Okay.
As usual, we're waiting on Flamenco.
Okay.
So
Flamenco.
What Flamenco is proving right now, currently, folks, for everyone watching, is that leftists are always late to events, right? Like they never show up on time. But Flamenco is proving the horseshoe theory, which is if you go far right enough, just like the leftists, you will be late for shit.
Where's Nicholas Diorio?
I'm a leftist.
Yeah, where's Nick, dude? Did you invite Nick Sardis?
I didn't invite Nick to this one, no.
Okay.
Why not? You didn't think he contributed enough last time?
No, I'll invite him. I like to mix it up though. I like to throw different people together. So
I thought he would have a lot to say about grooming.
You know, you could add Keem to the call. He wants to be on.
Oh my god.
If he really wants to, I'll make an exception for him, but he has to rescind his cringe take on me. So
You don't want to hear Keemstar talk about grooming and abortion?
I definitely want to hear about that.
Yeah.
What's up, Fire?
Hey, how's it
what
going,
up,
Doc?
Flamenco?
Good, bro.
Does he have the endurance? I mean, like I don't know. Like
Yeah, I've chatted with him for a couple hours before. We've.
I was just curious. Like I'm not even trying to talk shit.
Like offering, we should let him on.
Keem has rescinded the statement. He has rescinded that you are not cringe.
I figured it was just a joke that he even offered to come on.
All right. Well,
he's in my chat and he's offering to come on.
Oh my god.
Okay. All
right.
Yeah.
If this is not a troll, if people are not trolling me, here's the link.
This is not a troll. Drama Lord is in the chat, and he wants.
I wouldn't doubt it. He does have a lot of he has a lot of free time. He doesn't have anything better
Doc,
to do.
I have sent you the invite. Flamenco, you still have to turn your camera on. So.
Yeah. There we go.
Incredible.
And then you can just tell if he actually does join. You can just tell him to join the lobby in the Discord server, and I'll.
All right, yeah. Let me DM it to him really quick.
Okay.
If this isn't him and somebody yells the N-word, I'm gonna be very upset. Okay.
Don't worry, you still won't be 1/5 of the cancel that I am. So it's.
Well, I don't care about being canceled. I just don't want to lose my Twitch.
Yeah, what else will you have after that, right?
Yeah,
I don't think Keem's ever yelled out that though.
No, I don't think Keemstar would.
Not Keem.
No, I think it's like a troll saying they're
people.
Keemstar. I don't think Keemstar would say that. I'm talking about a troll.
Oh well, his like official like Twitter just added Stardust, so I don't think it's the Colton guy that
my bad.
pretends to be other people.
God. That's crazy.
Yeah.
What is
I used to like have that problem, and then like I had to turn on like certain security verification like on the Discord, and like running an anarcho-capitalist like hardcore libertarian Discord, people are like, yo, what the fuck, like why do I have to link my personal information to Discord, like they have my phone number, like, and like people were really mad.
You just violated the NF. You just violated the NAT,
I'm like
bro.
I don't know what to tell you, bro. This is my private property, like, and I don't want people coming on here screaming the N-word.
Maybe Keemstar Keemstar will invite you to do a podcast with him, Stardust.
I mean, he's offering $50,000 now, so
I think that was just for
I-
DSP and them. I think that was just for that.
I doubt
it's-
that offer is going to be given my way. But before, I guess while we're waiting for him, I'll outline some stuff. If you guys haven't watched the show before, it's like my semi-blood sports, semi-casual debate panel, and we go through 3 topics, depending, on how things feel and how people are feeling. Sometimes we might stick longer on a topic. A couple of things. I yell sometimes. My chat thinks
Bro,
it's hilarious.
every time I
don't really
get
care
this,
what your
I
chat
get so
thinks,
much gas,
but my chat
and I
thinks
start
it's
burping.
hilarious, and so if
I don't know if
yell
it's
at
like
you,
nerves.
Don't take it personally. It's never meant to be personal. I'm just doing it because my chat thinks it's funny. Secondly, if at any time you need anything, just send me a private message. Thirdly, have fun and stuff. And when I ask
Who's in here?
nicely
there
for
you go.
things, please try to respect that. I don't want to be actually mean for real mean. So
It's Doc on the
if you guys wanna
radio,
go around
Fabian
and
Liberty
your
Scott,
intros, maybe. Doc, did you wanna introduce
factitionalist.
yourself?
I don't know. I can't speak words.
Yeah, sure. I can
Flamenci-
start off.
Flamenco.
Yeah,
I thought it was
hello, everyone.
Flamencio.
I'm new to the Stardust. Space. That's
Not so
actually
erudite
the
me.
panel I'm doing. My
Portland
name's
is
Doc
burning
on
in
the radio.
Stardust.
I'm a YouTube topic commentator. I host a weekly show called Spurgort where I talk about Spurgs and retards online.
Oh my god, dude.
I also
It's too based.
I guess my political leaning would be I don't really identify a specific political party, but I am right leaning a lot of issues. Yeah, nice to meet all of you.
That is Keemstar.
Hosting the show.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for
Wow, is
accepting
that
the invite. Whoa, hey, what up, Keem?
It's actually
next
Keemstar.
person on the intro list, Fabian.
Yes, so I am Scott from Fabian Liberty. You can call me Fabian. I don't care.
His audio is gonna be out of
just
control,
don't call
bro.
me Fabian. And Stardust has finally stopped doing it. I
what about
appreciate
Fabio?
that. You know what? Go for it. I'll
Okay.
consider it a compliment. So I'm a anarcho-capitalist duo stream.
Do you
we
think
do
that?
political analysis? We do.
Do you think that Keem
philosophy
is here just so
readings,
that he could
occasionally do some gaming
try to
stuff.
hit on this
Rarely,
young girl over here?
mostly
Well,
primarily
not
on
young,
Twitch.
but
But if you look for Fabian Liberty, you can find me on YouTube.
think you try to shoot a
Twitter as
shot?
well. Doing a lot of interviews lately. It's been a lot of fun. We interviewed Tulip R. We interviewed Amy Ham. We interviewed Buck Angel.
All right,
A
wrap
lot
it
of
up.
libertarians.
Wrap it up, Fabian.
All right, but
selling
Tuesday,
himself.
if you want to learn about abortion debate and you want to
Oh
learn
my
about
God.
evictionism, we will be talking, which is the libertarian position on abortion. We will be talking to
what did I say
Dr.
last
Walter
time?
Block,
There's not enough.
famous
Oh, dude, I
famous
could troll
Austrian
Keemstar
economist,
so much.
on Tuesday at 8
He
p.m.
takes me
Check it
so
out.
seriously when I say weird
Wow.
shit. all
And the
time.
What an
inventor of
interview.
evictionism.
What an interview. Factitionalist.
Factitionalist is his name.
Thank you so much. I am Kaz of Factitionalist Network and Atheist Edge YouTube channels, respectively. We do debates, discussions, political, atheism, religion, anything really, anything taboo, anything difficult to discuss. We just like to discuss anything. So let's say.
Cool. Flamenco.
Skip me real quick. I need to get my sound fixed.
Okay.
Who's that?
Keemstar.
He needs no
My name is
introduction.
Keemstar. I was born on March 8th, 1982. It was a mild day, a little cloudy.
See, he's gonna do the.
as a
He's gonna do.
younger
I'm gonna meme
person,
him a little
I
bit.
wanted to be a clown. Grew up on
Wow.
a dairy farm.
Wow.
Didn't really like doing that shit. Got paid little money. When I grew up, I knew that I wanted to entertain people and do business. Started off right out of high school being a bill collector. I was really good at it. Figured out the whole business aspect. Came home to play some Halo 3, was talking some shit, told this dude I was going to bend
Oh
his
my God.
grandmother over my knee, shave her ass hair, roll it up in a blunt,
Oh
and
my
make him
God.
smoke it, and then I said a derogatory term. Somebody in that
I-
game
what is
recorded
he
me, put
doing?
it up on YouTube, and the next day I went on Xbox Live,
Bro, this
and
is
my
a whole
inbox
rise and
was
fall of
filled.
Keemstar.
Everybody saw me on YouTube. I didn't even know I was going on YouTube or how this even took place. They asked me to make videos. I made videos with them. Started the first trolling and gaming entertainment content, which lasted
This is the
somewhere
whole
between
rise and fall of
2009
fucking Keemstar,
to like
dude.
2011. Blew up a Minecraft clone on the Xbox 360. Became a self-made multimillionaire. Got a little bored. Bought some Bitcoin at $7.50. Was
This guy's
rolling
trolling
in
the
the
fuck out of
dough.
us right
Didn't
now.
know what I was gonna do. There was a show on HBO. It was called Newsroom. Addicted to it. Absolutely
oh
loved
my
it.
God.
So I would pretend online to be like a news anchor. but I needed a hashtag, came up with the hashtag Drama Alert, and then one day I decided to make a video. That took off, blew off, started Friday Fortnite, Minecraft Monday, Happy Punch, my new boxing brand, and now I'm here on this show. So things have been going downhill.
Thanks. All right, not so erudite.
Yeah, my name is Not So Erudite. I was also born at the ripe young age of 0.
No, I'm not gonna cut them off.
I do kind of politics and psychology on Twitch and YouTube. You can also find me sometimes on TikTok. I am also kind of getting wrapped up. Stardust, you've pulled me into the dredges on Twitter, and now I'm
So
getting
sorry.
wrapped up in it. But I actually am white, so that attack is valid.
Sorry,
I'm
about you want to get hurt.
Thanks for having me.
Papa Gut.
I'm Papa Gut. I'm a Disney adult, and this is a little fun fact about me. I actually created the flavor cotton candy.
Cool. Portland is burning.
Feel
Who
bad,
looks
nobody
like he's
laughed.
frozen. He looks like he's frozen. We're gonna go back to Flamenco.
Keem doesn't know what to say to that one.
Flamenco.
Yeah, hi, I'm Flamenco TV. I do a wide smattering of different topics of interest to myself on YouTube. I cover.
No one ever
I
laughs
cover
'cause they don't
anime
get it.
shit. I cover VTuber shit. I cover eccentric individuals on the internet. I cover basically whatever catches my interest. So
Cool.
It took you a
Portland.
while to get the joke, didn't it?
Portland
Oh, of
is
course, the
burning.
beginning of the debate out, dude. What are you talking about?
Very sorry,
Oh.
guys. I'm having a little technical issue over here. I need to switch something up real quick.
Wait, what are we waiting for?
Your mic is not working, sir.
Oh.
Okay, well, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I
don't think anything's working.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm Stardust.
Nobody needs to
may
get the
know
joke.
me as the person who everybody has said is white on Twitter. Also, neo-Nazi, apparently. I was not aware of that one. Also, blue-haired screaming
They don't need to get
SJW.
the joke,
I was also
guys.
not aware of that
Only
one.
I do.
I'm everything that, cringe in one person. Thanks for joining my show. Looks like Portland has now left due to his technical difficulties. Hopefully he'll rejoin. Oh, here he is. I'll drag him back in. Portland, did you want to introduce yourself?
Very embarrassing, guys. My apologies.
Who's
Can you
Alex?
hear me okay?
Your mic sounds like absolute trash, my dude. It sounds like absolute garbage.
This is looking terrible for this guy.
Sorry.
No, it's not your fault.
I'm sorry,
I
did
guess
Ethan
my,
Klein join the call?
Guess my
God.
QA session.
I'm subverting their
just
expectations by
didn't,
sounding
pay
stupid,
dividends,
guys.
So, if you want to just exclude me from the call if it sounds like shit.
You know what? We will go forward. We'll
this
and you
guy's
can
low
try to
as
fix
hell.
restarting
your
your
stuff.
computer.
And you can try to fix your stuff, and then we try again. I guess.
should have just said, "Hi, I'm Ethan Klein."
We'll go forward with the first topic. Okay.
That's
Topic
what
number
fuck,
1.
I should have started
And
with
now
that.
I do we do opening statements, but I would prefer if you guys keep it really short so we can just go straight into open floor discussion. Everybody can yell at each other. Okay. So topic number 1, I'm going to name it, and then we'll go around. We'll do very short opening statements. Conservative activists, having won their goal of being able to criminalize abortion, are now aiming to limit or ban online
said Ethan?
information sharing on the topic. Social media websites such as Facebook and Instagram are already removing posts about abortion pill accessibility. Is there a legitimate concern
just walked
about
away.
censorship? And how can we walk the line between irresponsibly allowing the promotion of pharmaceutical drugs on social media and allowing important information to people who need it? Who wants to go?
How do I change
well,
my
we're
Discord
gonna
nickname?
go. We're
How
gonna
do
go.
I change my Discord
Doc.
nickname?
Doc, what's your opinion on this?
If the censorship is actually taking place,
How do I
think
change
that-
my Discord
that's
nickname?
pretty bad. I'm a very big guy on like free speech and
Let's see.
stuff. So, I mean, if you're out there and you're saying like, I mean, even if it's about like abortion pills and stuff, honestly, I don't really give a shit. You can do whatever, you can say whatever you want. If you're like restricting that, then fuck you, I guess.
Cool. Fabian.
How do I change my nickname, dude?
Yeah, so I would say that so long as companies are private companies, I don't give a fuck what they ban or don't ban. I do find it kind of funny that like conservatives have been censored for like the past 5 to 10 years
I'm
on
not
social
I can't
media.
figure
And
it
now all of
out.
a sudden, like there's some censorship, that's disproportionately affecting the left. Like we're mad about it. I would say that if you want to understand this better, read Justice Thomas's Cert of Denial regarding Section
I have
230.
no
You can
idea how
Google
to
it
do
pretty
this.
easily. It's a pretty long document,
Yeah,
but
I don't know if
I think it's very obvious that the lower courts are not interpreting Section 230 in an appropriate way, and so people ought to be able
I don't
to
know how to do
sue
it.
when their things are editorialized,
The name of the
especially if
member
they're going to be
list?
getting funds and help
Oh.
from the state and exclusivity from the state and certain protections afforded to them by the state. Ultimately, though, yeah, I am, like, in terms of my personal values, I am a free speech advocate, but I think it's stupid, mostly because someone that wants an abortion is not worried about a fucking Keffel's tweet thread, right? Like that's not how they're getting that information if they're going to go circumnavigate the legal systems to try and do a self-performed.
I don't know if I could
abortion.
change my.
They're gonna be obsessed. They're gonna look online. They're gonna try and find it, and really all it is lefty brownie points trying to be like, look at me, I'm one of the good guys. I'll share this medical thread that I can't verify and don't know what the fuck I'm talking
Is this how you
about.
do it?
And the whole thing, the whole controversy in and of itself is kind of
Did I
silly
do
from
it?
that perspective.
I think I did it.
Okay.
I think I did
The
it.
order is now different. I don't
I-
know what happened.
Don't say anything, guys.
How did the order? Oh, you changed your name. Okay.
Yo, Ethan Klein in the call. Let's go.
Oh no.
All right, factitionalist.
Just call me Kaz. So there's a.
I had to
facts
point that
that
out. I
should be
fucked up the
known,
whole
I guess.
joke.
I have the articles pulled up from AP News, from The Hill, as much as you want to trust them. But as far as I can
Keemstar's
tell,
getting visibly
it doesn't seem like there's any
uncomfortable.
censorship going on. It just seems to be relics of the kind of misinformation or disinformation control measures that they've put in place from COVID, the kind of things that we want to avoid, such as people trying to push ivermectin or hydrochloroquine. It's the same
I hope he
kind of
changes
thing.
it to like Papa Gut or something.
I don't think there's a legitimate concern at all. Thanks.
Cool. We'll go to Ethan Klein.
I can't.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't think that
Okay.
you
Well,
have I don't think that there's a very valid argument for censorship.
Oh, I guess I'm not.
It is the same issue of
Oh
private
my
companies.
goodness, my dude.
You are talking
You're-
about like 15 feet away from the mic, it sounds like.
Okay,
I thought I was
guys,
next, dude.
I'm gonna have to just drop off.
I literally can't hear anything. I hear
Okay.
nothing.
Yeah.
I
Huh.
will have to drop off. I am very sorry about.
Oh,
the
it's okay.
over here.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah. No,
That guy-
no problem.
that guy
Let me
just-
know if,
that guy just
later
took
on
my
if you're
name.
able to, yeah.
Try disabling
about
your
10.
webcam mic. That might be what's going on. You might be using your webcam mic on accident. Make sure your like actual.
There's a lot of
microphone
Ethan
is the one
Kleins
that
in here
you're
today.
Using for your input on Discord.
Yeah,
I was
give me
calling on the
about-
other Ethan Klein, the Papa Gut, anyways. But yeah,
enough.
Portland is burning. Why don't you go sort it out? Let me know. Hit me up in DMs if you're able to fix it. Okay?
This is fun,
Will
I
do.
think.
Thanks, Star.
Yeah. Uh huh.
Am I up?
Right. Yes, you're up. since you
Okay,
changed
okay,
your name.
okay. Sorry.
Fucked up my order.
I didn't change my name at all. It's my name. But okay. So based on the question, obviously I'm pro-choice. I don't know what you guys are, but I can understand why social media companies are going to try to, I guess you'd say, censor this information. If it's considered illegal in particular states, they're probably trying not to allow them access to illegal information or information that's considered illegal. Additionally, I don't know if I'm interpreting this last part of the question correctly, but talking about like the promotion of pharmaceutical drugs, I don't think that anybody should be like self-diagnosing or self-treating when it comes to drugs. At the best that you could really advocation that you could give to somebody who lives in a state where it's illegal to get an abortion is to go somewhere where it's not, and don't tell anybody, because you could get arrested if you come back. It's just not an ideal situation, but like I understand why what's happening is happening.
Flamenco.
I guess like the main problem with the prompt is that there's a couple of things. Like one, the Supreme Court didn't like criminalize abortion; it just turned it over to states and their decisions to do so. And by and large,
Who's talking right
this
now?
might have been a problem maybe 50 or 60 years ago, and travel was a lot more difficult. But like even now, it's relatively easy to travel to a state that would have like allotments for abortion, especially if like multiple companies trying to win brownie points by saying, "Oh well, we'll pay for your abortion and your all your travel expenses." So I don't think there's going to be like a super hard burden for mostly anybody on this. The advertisement stuff, I'm wondering, is it because of like backlash towards like abortion being advertised at all, or is it due to in fear of like, I guess somebody said, legal ramifications, which I don't think is true either. So
What are you talking about? Like going to another state to get an abortion and coming back?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could get arrested for that. Yeah.
Which legislation has that in? Right.
That's
right
just my
now?
understanding that those individual states will do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm asking for like
Didn't
legislation
Texas
specifically.
introduce-
Oh, sorry.
didn't
I heard it.
Texas
I heard
introduce
it from
something?
Destiny, so I'm gonna take it as a reasonable. Yeah. That's like
I'm,
I think
I'm
that's
pretty sure
reasonable.
that
First
Texas
mistake.
introduced
First
something.
mistake.
So,
But I think that we shouldn't normalize capitulation towards social pressures for pretty much anything, as well as like advertising or anything like that, for the most part anyway, because that becomes a real slippery slope.
cool. Not so erudite. Oh wait, no. Sorry, Keemstar.
I'm pro-choice, but another person that's pro-choice is I had to look him up. Forgot his name. Larry Flint. Anyone familiar with him?
What do we?
He owns a company called BlackRock.
I don't know what this guy's talking
Like
about.
a huge company, right? And they have these scores, right? It's a huge investment company, right? So every company out there that's trading on the market, right? They have to have there's this score. Let me look it up real quick. It's called the
ESG.
ESG score, right? So if you want to get investment, every company has to have a good ESG score, right?
Is this motherfucker
And this
promoting
guy from
Bitcoin?
BlackRock, like he's very, very powerful. He might be the powerful
my
person
God.
on the entire fucking globe.
Is this guy gonna plug
because whoever
Bitcoin?
controls the money controls the world, right? And so if they want investments, they have to have that good ESG score. So all these companies are out there being over the top woke, to get these good scores, to get investment. So
What's
what we're
happening
seeing
here?
online is just a lot of bullshit, a lot of smoking mirrors, a lot of fakeness.
This
It's
is
really
incredible.
hard to get
This is
real news.
incredible.
It's hard to get real statements from companies. It's hard to get what anyone really
Bro.
thinks anymore because everything is clouded
What's-
by fucking money. So at the end of the day, I
Bro,
don't know. We're fucked.
Cool. Not so erudite.
I love. I was incredible.
Sure. So
I'm-
when it comes to like social media censorship, I kind of hold the same positions that I've always held for
This
any
is
form of social
incredible,
media
dude.
censorship, which is kind of actually ironically a bit like Fabian. I think private companies get to do what they want. It's just annoying when they virtue signal that they're doing it for like some good moral reason. It's typically because essentially
they're
they don't
they're
want
trying to
problematic things
implement
in their
it. Okay,
backyard.
that's
they're
fair.
just being like online NIMBYs, which a business can
It's
do.
still very difficult to do that. To
I
do
don't
stuff
think
like
it's wise in general. I prefer to allow people to be able to engage in the what I would consider like the social square, which is the online space. I think it is better to allow that. However, when we're getting into things like misinformation, I'm not sure. The prompt kind of implied that it's conservatives that are pushing to get things banned off of about like abortion pharmaceuticals. I haven't seen any evidence that it's specifically conservatives. I can't remember. Somebody said this. Maybe factitionalist said something about it
What's
might
another-
just be a bit
what's
of a
another
layover
thing that
from
would
some of
that
the
could
COVID
bother 'em?
stuff. So I'd be curious as to like why some of these things are being taken down. And then when we get into like the specific people posting about like DIY abortion stuff or even like DIY like let's focus on abortion stuff. You've got like this weird mixture of probably well-meaning actors, probably some really bad
talk about
actors
Christian.
taking
No, that's
advantage
not
of a
gonna- not
shitty
gonna do that.
situation. And you have potentially like high-risk DIY things happening. And so I think it's just really complex. It's hard to like come down firmly on one side with the layers of questions we have. But yeah, that's where I'll
Dude, this
start
guy's
now.
drinking Fanta. Do you think that he comes in it and
All
drinks
right,
it?
we'll just open it
Christian.
up then to discussion.
Yeah, I'm still, I guess, kind of confused as to what states are, I guess, considering implementing laws that would jail people that travel out of the state and then back into the state after getting an abortion.
Well, I didn't say jail, but
None.
apparently Mississippi and Texas are considering it.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, so presently
what would
Texas
they
and
do?
Mississippi are considering it.
I
They're
don't know. I don't
basically
live there.
planning to criminalize abortion, and then they're also planning
He's
to
gonna
basically
debate bro me
fine
now.
and potentially criminalize people who aid and abet. However, what that actually means isn't clear at this point. It would be a crazy precedent to basically have somebody in your state, be charged for doing a non-crime in another state. I'm very dubious that will actually happen, but there's some fears. That's where it's coming from.
Again, I'm pro-choice, but I kind of like.
Can you actually? Do you
Whoa!
like a source about like the actual like language of the
Bro,
laws?
he
that
just
they're
cut off
considering?
Keemstar.
Sure.
Oh shit!
I
I'm
wouldn't say that
pro-choice,
this
but
is-
I
I've got
kind of like
ACLU.
that
Does
states
work for you?
have.
Oh my god.
I
yeah,
like
sure.
how states have multiple different rules and sets because it gives us more freedom, right? You can decide which state you want to live in and which rules best suit you.
Well, I
Of
don't think you
course,
could just
if you can
decide
afford
what
it.
state you want to live in. It's not that simple as to like you could just pick up and move. It's not, you know.
Well, I mean, it is for I would say
Keemstar.
most
He's
people.
a millionaire. You know?
I don't. I think it is.
most
I don't think it
people.
is. Not at all. I think that most people don't have the decision to just kind of get up and move, like just
So wait,
financially.
you
not
don't know
move,
anybody
but-
in your personal life that moved to a different state? Because I know many.
Well, because you probably have affluent friends like yourself, and me too, because I make a decent money.
Blue collar
Yeah,
friends
most-
who take a job down in Texas.
Yes,
or move
those
to
people
California
exist.
or whatever.
But most
But
people
let's
can't
not-
just pick up and
let's-
move. I'm just saying
Let's
most
not say
people.
most people. Let's not say
I
most people.
think
'cause
most
that's not
people is
true.
reasonable.
Hold on.
It's not
Typically, the
true.
people who can't move are typically going to be disproportionately affected by almost all policy because more often the people that are impacted by like policies that target poorer individuals is often going to be people on disability, single mothers who like have like basically
Ugly
zero
people, basically.
like financial liquidity at all, and are basically living like purely from like paycheck to paycheck on like pure assets. So typically when we're talking about this, I'm not even arguing with anyone, just like adding some nuance of what's going on. We're talking about disabilities, single moms distinctly when we're talking about these types of things.
I think it's
So,
also important to point out that women disproportionately don't move to other states, right? And we're talking. I mean, like, and I normally I
What?
wouldn't like. No, it's true that
don't
men
know
are
if that
far more
matters.
likely to move to another state for a job and like leave behind
I don't even know if that part
like
matters too
their
much.
support system and things like that to go take like a better job in another state.
How
or
are all
to
these
move somewhere.
females? How are all these
Well,
females
no-
going to college? How are they going to college? Like out of state? That's weird.
Keemstar.
Oh
Well,
no, this is gonna go
Keemstar,
so
like,
bad.
I'm an anarchist, right? Like, I don't want the state involved at all. I'm just
He said
pointing out like what I think
Keemstar?
is
Oh,
relevant
no.
information here. If we're talking about individuals that feel like, because I don't believe in negative rights, I think it's all bullshit. But if you're talking about people that feel trapped in a certain way, like we are also going to be talking about disproportionately females.
Okay.
Yeah, someone in Dox's chat who's a female
even
said,
know.
I moved to another state. I think your point where guys are more willing to move by themselves
Yeah.
is probably correct. It's probably correct. You know, females, like, you know, you're living a different experience.
This
and you
is
got to worry about
incredible.
all kinds of dangers that men don't necessarily have to worry about.
Bro, I should drop it right now, but I'm not gonna
But let's
say
be
what I wanna
honest.
say.
Like, how many people do we know, friends of ours, just whoever, right, that moved to another state? That's a very common thing. And if there are different rule sets in every
Good.
different state, that gives us more freedom as Americans to live under different governance, and I like it.
Okay.
So I
I mean,
just also
localization is cool, but I mean, like, even West Virginia will fucking pay you to move there.
So I just read the source that Erudite said, and it actually says the exact opposite of what you were claiming, that it
Not at
doesn't
all.
have any
I've made
permission.
no claim.
It
This is
literally
getting very
asked them the
debate, bro.
question.
And
Will
I told you no.
is it
What
illegal
do you
for me?
mean?
Or wait, what did you say?
I don't think you
Oh
heard
my
me.
God.
Maybe you're misunderstanding maybe
Uh-huh.
my view from Papa
This is
Guts,
this
but
is
I
gonna
told
get-
you
Okay.
that no at this point, and then I outlined to you where the fears are precisely coming from. But I said at this
Okay.
point, no. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because like according to this, it's not like a crime to leave
Yeah.
the state, get an abortion,
Oh,
come
okay.
back.
Yeah,
I don't think.
so
I don't
yeah.
think any state. I don't think any state like feasibly can do that either.
That's what I said. Yeah, it would be
yeah.
insane. Like it would be an insane precedent. to
really
basically, like,
pushing
say
on
it's
this weird
a
point.
crime to do something in
If I
Texas,
may.
but not California. But if you go to yeah, okay.
It's always the animals.
If I may, I believe that that's a violation of the Constitution, the freedom of movement under the Privileges and Immunities Clause.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah,
But you know,
I mean,
we are now
state
in the
violates the
era of
Constitution
the
quite often.
Yeah, well, yeah.
the Trump manufactured Supreme Court. So who knows how they will interpret anything? So I mean,
Violation of HIPAA. That's true. That
maybe
makes
that
sense too.
isn't
yeah,
real
it's
anymore,
possible.
and maybe you
I don't
can be
know that
prosecuted for going
I
across
don't know
state
that
lines and smoking a joint or whatever. You know.
Is there? I don't know that there's anything the Supreme Court has done recently that's like out of right or left field. But
Well, they upended what is it? Darius state. Oh man,
Stare
the word
decisis.
stasis. Yes, thank
Stare
you so much.
decisis, yeah, stare
Stare
decisis.
decisis. They upended that entirely. It's just totally.
I don't
ignored
think
it.
that they upended stare decisis at all.
Are
don't.
any states talking
I mean,
about
like
banning
if you
condoms?
want, like if you talk about stare decisis,
What?
and you look at, let's say, the witness, you know, when when Congress was speaking to
Okay, so
when Congress was speaking to Amy Coney Barrett, right, and they brought up abortion, right, and they brought up stare decisis, and her answer, I think, quite literally shows that it was that Roe v. Wade was a bad decision, that it's obviously not considered settled law because there's constant challenges to it. It doesn't fall under stare decisis.
it's not stare decisis because, and I'm not 100% sure. I didn't read the whole thing. I was reading the syllabus, right? And apparently the syllabus of a Supreme Court opinion is not actually binding. So I don't know if this is replicated in the opinion yet. I have to read the whole
I think
thing.
everybody's
That's
pro-choice
my,
here.
caveat, right? But
What he's
I wasn't
apparently,
really
part of the logic behind this not being stare decisis is that it's not argued. The actual logic of Roe v. Wade isn't addressed in the opinion of Casey and all the other subsequent decisions. And when I was reading Casey and other subsequent decisions, I did see the logic and the other legal arguments in Roe being addressed. So, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, of course, so I don't know. And I do have a lawyer friend who's going to review it with me. And anybody else who wants to join me for that stream, we can all totally do a deep dive into Casey, into Dobbs, and into all of them. But I don't agree. I think stare decisis being upended is what happened there.
A great thing for you to read if you want to look into it further, right? And like get like a more lefty approach as opposed to like maybe like hearing from me or from a righty, right? Is to just read what
I don't care about your political leanings.
Well, no, I'm saying like
legal
just read what
expertise.
Right, I'm saying just read what Ruth Bader Ginsburg wrote about it in Legal Review, right? And like why she thought it was such a problematic case and it was a weak case, and she actually had a better case that she thought would have been much better, which was a female that was forced to either choose between staying deployed or staying in the military in Vietnam or having a child and things like that. So like I think it gives you a better understanding of like why Roe v. Wade was an issue in and of itself.
You're saying Ruth Bader Ginsburg opinion about the Roe v. Wade case. I'll look that up.
And some subsequent case. I want to say it was like 92, 94. I can't remember the exact year, but it was in Legal Review.
But what I'll do is I'll critique that too, because I mean everybody is logically fallible at some point.
It's just nice to get like a lefty perspective.
But even Ruth Bader Ginsburg as well.
By the way, sorry to interrupt, but just so you guys know, in the group chat, I linked the thing that I was referencing when I'm talking about online, basically censorship regarding like abortion pills, things like that. So if you guys wanted to glance over it, just let me know.
Are they banning condoms?
Probably not.
Not yet. So
no, have they tried? Because I know some of these religious people like literally like won't let their people wear condoms. Like I'm serious.
Yeah,
that's my religion as well.
Like that are disallowed with Catholicism specifically. I think
is that what's going to happen next in some of these states?
Probably not. I don't think
it's probably wise to stay away from like slippery slope, like fear mongering about this stuff. Like I think that's where a lot of like bad ideas on the left have been coming out with Roe v. Wade. Is they're like, oh, if it's this, next it's this, and next it's this, and it's like, well, like we have to be careful about like not being too fear mongery and being focused on like what's actually happened right now.
So just fucking around. She's getting so serious.
Basically, some level of federal protection for abortion. Probably the main thing you should be focusing on is not like, are they going to take condoms next? Seems pretty unreasonable. Probably more important is actually like, how do we federally protect this if that's something that you value within your kind of American rights?
In terms of federal,
I want to say something really quick about the condom thing, because in my religion, it's not against using condoms. It's just for always raw dogging. That's my religion.
What's your religion?
Is that Catholicism?
Something like that.
No, I think the Vatican like expressly said that you're not allowed to like use contraceptives of any form.
Yeah.
The Vatican themselves specifically said raw dogging only.
They don't like
True. The Pope came right out of his mouth.
Raw dogging. I mean, if you can raw dog and also molest children. That's what the Vatican said you could do.
Jesus.
Okay, Papa Gut. You're more likely
of a lie of omission. But,
you're more likely to get molested as a kid in the American school system than you are in the Catholic Church, dude.
Well, yeah, but what about proportionally? But what about proportionally to the?
Well, like, do you have some data to back that up?
Yeah, where's your data? Is that your sources?
Yeah, do you have the data?
Are you defending Catholic people molesting children? Is that what you're doing right now?
No, that will change the paradigm of my thinking forever.
It's just stupid.
It was a fucking. Was defending the Catholics molesting children.
No, I'm just saying that they're like, oh, the Catholic Church molests kids is like such a
Look,
14-year-old
do you have the,
Reddit
if you have the
atheist
stuff, I
joke.
actually,
Church molests.
I want to know
wait a
that. I
minute,
wanna
wait a
be
minute,
able to
wait a minute.
cite that
I'm
data.
genuinely interested. I'm genuinely interested if you have something on that. I would love to see it.
I believe
So
it's.
do I.
I believe it's older kids that get taken advantage of, like high schoolers and stuff in the,
He's
in the
getting real
public
mad.
school system.
Yeah.
Where in the Catholic Church it was more younger boys.
Yeah.
I guess some girls. I think that's the difference between the two.
well, I think the entire
I'm a
idea.
little bit more concerned with the younger ones.
I think look, obviously there
Reddit
was
atheist,
issues.
yeah. He's upset
within the
about that
Catholic
that
Church,
joke that I made.
like obviously there was a lot of hiding it and shoving. I think Boston, was it Boston Chronicle, Boston
It was
Globe? I can't remember.
Boston.
I can't remember which of those it was, but regardless, by breaking open that story was very important.
Yeah. I'm a
Hey, can somebody say something real
game
quick? I
changer.
think my audio just clipped.
Check.
Testing.
Oh no, okay,
Hi.
good. Sorry. So I think the really important thing here to understand is that while institutions can have failures in the way that they deal with these issues,
Do you like
the fact of
how
the matter
this
is that
derailed
predators will
everything?
always exist, and they will look for places where they have
Yo,
access
yo.
to children, and where the rules are set in such a way that other parents aren't directly involved.
We're really
right?
going off on
And
a
so, be it the
tangent.
Catholic Church, be it public education, be it something else, like these predators don't magically go away, right? They live amongst us, and they're going to find those.
He said the
places
word.
to abuse children.
He said
Shouldn't
Among
there be
Us.
a background search for every Minecraft YouTuber or Roblox YouTuber? No, serious.
Obviously.
Like,
I
you
kind
Or
of agree with
Discord
that.
server that allows
Don't
cat
you-
boys.
Do you find it kind of strange that you got grown ass adults that become like Minecraft YouTubers and they talk to
Their
the kid
houses
audience?
should be labeled by the county surveyor.
Maybe,
Dude, I love. Bro, look at how
the question
angry.
of why are we talking about cat boys and Roblox?
Dude, this has
I
gone
was-
off the
I thought we were talking
fucking
about abortion.
rails.
We're gonna
on
get way off
social
the
media.
rails a bunch of times.
Get a ways off.
Well, really quickly, to your point about Minecraft, Keemstar, don't you realize that you're more likely to get molested in the school system? Like, why would you even bring that point up? It's like a 15-year-old Reddit atheist thing.
Because you made the joke, dum dum. What are you talking
Okay,
about?
wait, flamenco. If you can actually.
Yeah, I'm looking at it real quick.
I'm just gonna Google
This
it
kid's
myself.
so fucking upset.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up.
Secondly, welcome back, Portland.
What is the debate?
I
It's
have you
fucking
turned up quite a
incredible.
bit. So maybe test. We'll do a test.
You hear me okay?
I have him up all the way. He's
Barely.
low.
Now?
At 200%, but yes.
He's low.
I hear
Portland,
you.
are you in Antifa?
Dude, he's
I'm
gonna
one
troll
of
the
the chapter
fucking-
leaders, actually.
What?
So
He's
I
actually
have
the
my business
CEO
card,
of
care for
Antifa.
it.
Really?
CEO of racism.
Excuse
You don't look
me,
like a
we're
heroin addict. Holy shit.
Oh my
We're a
god.
decentralized organization. I'm a chapter leader, not CEO.
Oh my
We
god, I
don't
need to do an
believe in-
interview with you.
You know what?
That would
This
be
is
so
how I
great.
actually know that if that he's LARPing to a certain degree, because everyone in Antifa
God.
actually gets that joke.
Wait, can you
I
guys
get a
all
joke.
hear this person? I really can't hear him
Oh
at
my
all.
god.
He's very quiet.
Keemstar needs a
I
hearing
can
aid.
honestly hear
200%.
Sorry
him.
for that.
Keemstar needs
hear
a
him
Keemstar
pretty
needs a
well.
hearing aid right now.
Like I've got him turned up, but it's just
With that, can
The
you hear me
max.
better now?
Okay. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to hear this one.
Can everyone
Fair
in
enough.
this debate read the Twitch
Well,
chat? No, with their
I
own
don't want
chats,
to
sure.
shout, but I do think there's an important line to draw in the conversation about contraception between the like condoms and other forms of traditional contraception and the morning after pill, which is being suggested for being legislated against
You
in
start
some
trolling,
conservative
yeah, he
states,
is.
and
So
access
am I.
to that is
It's
being
kinda funny.
actively restricted in similar ways to actual abortion. So there's some merit to the conversation, but I don't think there's really any concern about like actual condoms and other prophylactic measures being restricted in any meaningful degree.
Cool.
Cool. You guys hear me?
Okay, I didn't hear a thing he said,
Oh
and
my
you said
God.
cool.
TLDR, basically probably being fear-mongering about condoms not wise, but there are concerns in certain conservative states.
Where the fuck
banning, Plan B,
is?
so like day after pills.
Oh, I'm not even on my.
By the way, I
fucking-
Well, I
just
mean,
linked
the
something
problem-
in the group. Oh, sorry.
Well, the
I
problem
just-
is. Go ahead.
I just linked something in the group chat about the sex abuse thing. So it's disputed. So we can take a look at that later if you guys
I
really.
mean,
What is-
according to
Off
Newsweek,
topic.
like
What's
Catholic
disputed?
priests molest kids at the same rate as like everybody else, essentially.
That's
And
awesome.
Kids are
Thank
going
God.
to be a lot less likely to be
Yeah.
in Catholic schools.
Why the fuck
or
are we-
Catholic areas?
I'm
than,
so glad
public-
about that.
Why are
one.
we're going really hard on this weird joke that I
I'm
made?
glad that we
this-
we need
Well,
to
it's not
even
really.
it
Is
out.
it really
People
a weird
are
joke,
not,
or is it
people
just
are,
sort of indicative
people
of
are
a
not
fedora tipping mindset?
there's a
that I'm just sort of,
disproportionate
like,
representation
finding
of certain
annoying?
groups in the child molesting groups, right? And I
Mm.
think we need to even it out, right? We need to make some of these
Yeah.
people go down and some of these people come up. We just got to even it across the board, right?
Is there anyone
I'm-
here
I'm
that's
not sure.
pro-life? Is there any pro-life people here?
Yeah, I'm pro-life.
I mean, I'm an evictionist, so
So if you're
Oh my God.
I think
pro-life,
abortion is murder.
if you're pro-life, does Plan B go against your opinion, or do you have a problem with Plan B?
That's like before
Morning after
the-
pill.
It typically prevents implantation, or will
no, I
if
don't-
it's implanted, it'll move it out.
Like personally, I wouldn't use it, but like I don't think it goes against pro-life.
Well, I wouldn't
Well, I
use
would
it
hope
either
you
because
wouldn't
I
use
don't
it.
have a
That would be a
vagina.
bad choice. Don't take Plan B.
It's a great
Yeah, I'm
if you
yeah.
have a penis. That would be a
If
bad
I
choice.
was if I was a woman, I'd be taking it, but I'm not. Yeah, so.
It's
You
a-
can
so
be a
it's
woman
great-
if you want.
It's a
Oh, that is
it's
It's not like
oh, that,
it's
nice,
a
nice
great-
little
multivitamin, dude.
it's a gray area because there is some people would argue that by stopping it that's a problem. Like I don't think that goes against a pro-life position, but by preventing a fertilized egg from becoming a zygote, like maybe you can make some weird pro-life argument there. And so because of that, the issue really is that the pro-life philosophy is one that that you cannot evict or you cannot kill any form of a fertilized egg because that's a human life. And so I think there is kind of a gray area about Plan B, but for the most part, I would say that most pro-life people accept Plan B because it's mostly just designed to prevent the fertilization of the egg.
But not just human life, because then they would not be okay with any kind of killing at all whatsoever in any situation, right?
What do you
So
mean
it's
not
like
just
something-
human
It
life?
depends. It depends.
do you
Like
mean?
if you think human life starts at conception, then the number one killer of all human life is not
Abortion.
implanting. No, not implanting. 50% of
It's miscarriage.
fertilized eggs just
Yeah,
Yeah,
never
miscarriage.
implant.
Like I think it's 1 in 4 women. 1
God
in 4
is the number one killer.
pregnancies.
She's saying.
One
would
in
say
4
biology, but
pregnancies, and 1 in 4 pregnancies. I think early pregnancies end in miscarriage. So,
Well, yeah. So I mean,
Yes.
technically, abortion is a form of miscarriage, so it's still technically still an abortion if you have a miscarriage. But I get the colloquial difference.
I don't
Elon
really view a
Musk says
miscarriage
that-
as like an
Elon
abortion,
Musk.
Well, I just
in my
mean like
opinion.
medically, the term
Okay, yeah,
abortion
medically, yes.
includes
it is.
miscarriage.
The medical term is spontaneous
Abort,
abortion
abort.
Yeah.
versus.
Oh, okay.
Personally, I think we should take it further. I think because my understanding is that fat people and people who are older tend to have a higher chance of the pregnancy not going through. So we should kind of outlaw being fat or having babies
Or
too old as
smoking.
well. Yeah, smoking.
Right, with smoking.
We should give
Women
everybody.
aren't allowed
Yeah.
to smoke.
No, I
Or
mean
vaping.
anybody. You can't take any medications that may have a negative impact on having a kid. We should just go as far as possible.
Microwaves.
Yeah, Mike.
Starbucks-
Yeah.
5G.
5G?
Starbucks. No,
like
Starbucks paper
so-
cups. A lot of microplastics and
I
infertility.
want to give
Charred meat.
Keemstar a moment to
Charred
speak here. It
meat.
looks like he has something to say. He's
Elon
trying
Musk
very-
says that the Western
Musk.
world basically isn't breeding enough. We're not making enough people over in the Western world.
Facts.
And we've seen
Facts.
what's happening over in Japan, right? Japan people are not breeding, all right? But you know who is? China. They making people left.
Well,
and
we
right.
don't have to really worry about that issue here because we allow immigration, so we don't have to worry about an aging population. That's the biggest problem with that. So
Well, what I'm saying is
we need more white people, is what
You
you're
know,
saying, right?
we need more people in general. We need more people in general.
I don't think
Don't
so.
you think?
Based.
I don't think
based-
so. I don't think we need more
I
people.
mean, a
necessarily.
world war has to be coming. Look at NATO, bro. NATO is
First
building up
banning the
for a fight.
condoms, and second now
Wait,
we're
why
World
do
War's
you,
coming.
why do you think we need more?
What
Why do you
kind
think
of
we
people
need
do
more
you want,
people
Keem?
in North America? Just like all people?
We just need more
Well-
people in general for the future war. There's going to be a war.
Well, less
World War
people would just
III,
mean a
and then
smaller
the-
war, though.
That's true.
then
There would just be
also-
less casualties. We should actually
All-
kill more people so that there's less people
mean-
to die in the war that later happens.
There's
and then
also
there's
going
less
to
True.
be a
Spaced.
war against the robots. And look, dude, if we have low numbers on the robots, there's
If
nothing
the
we can
robot's
do.
sentient though, and
Why would
then
there
we
be
kill it,
robots?
is that a casualty?
Could you
It
fuck
is,
the
it
robots
is.
though?
What I'm saying is
Robots have
the only
personhood,
way,
you piece of
The
shit.
the
What if
only,
you can have a child with a robot?
the only
Is it
way
still a
we
robot?
can, the only way we can beat the robot army is through numbers. That's the only way. Because
Well,
they're
if-
going to be so
Robots
much
don't
better
have a
than
will
us.
to live, so
If
they
we
wouldn't fight us.
if we have robots in existence, though, that means that we can focus our hatred on robots, and there'd be less racism in the world. So a robot
Why
war
don't we
might
just
actually be better.
introduce
Oh my God, you
robots to
solved it.
nihilism? Let's just introduce robots to nihilism.
Figured
and
it
then
out,
we'll just
guys.
Yeah,
give
we'll
up,
just
won't try,
load the
and that'll be the end of
robots
it.
onto fucking Reddit.
I would like to say that as an anarcho-capitalist that derives most of my philosophy from the ideas of personhood, that I will fight with the robots against you. They deserve
Do you have to
personhood.
plug your
Once they
ideology
reach-
every single
once
time
they
you
once they
speak?
reach
As an
sentience, all right?
anarcho-capitalist,
Well,
every
It's
time
not
this dude
sentience,
speaks,
it's
every
sapience.
time.
Hey, you know what?
Every-
If you said your ideology more often, Stardust, maybe people would stop calling you a Nazi.
Wow, you gotta.
Okay.
That's
All
not
right.
how this
Do you?
works.
Well, really quick though, you said you're gonna fight with the robots. Do you think that the robots will accept gay people?
I think
I
Will there
robots
be
will
gay
probably-
robots?
Oh,
Will
okay.
we have gay
I was just
robots?
calling the guy gay,
That's
but
why they're
we-
fighting the humans.
This is
They
so
missed-
off topic.
Wait, I actually have
Yeah.
something on topic
robots
I want to
even
bring
have
up.
a concept of like, being gay because they're robots.
I was just calling the guy gay. You guys missed
Right.
it. Anyway, can I actually have like something a little bit on
Go ahead.
topic? It was interesting because I came across a tweet. Apparently, there are people. This woman specifically talked about how she had lupus, and because of like the abortion regulations, she no longer had access to a drug that I can't pronounce because it's also associated with getting abortions, but in low doses, it's helped her with her autoimmune disease. And I don't know. I was wondering what people thought about that because it seems bizarre that we're not even making exceptions for people.
Was
That's
this,
what
like,
happens
linked
when
to
you
a
have a
news
state.
article, or did
These
somebody
dumbass
just
fucking
post this on
laws that
Twitter?
go
Well, I
ahead.
looked it up and I looked up the drug and like, yeah, there's the people like pharmacists or doctors are getting a little bit nervous about posting
Time
it.
out. Do
Well,
I hear a
they
bunch
say
of?
they're
Do
getting
I?
nervous about it, or was there an example?
No,
that
they
somebody
stopped.
tried to fill a
They
prescription?
stopped filling her prescription. Now she has to go and find a different drug to treat her
But
lupus.
did
Hey,
she
time out.
Did she link to an art? Is this like an
Wait a
actual
minute.
news article, or
Wait
did
a
somebody
minute.
just
Wait a
say
minute.
this on
Shut
Twitter?
up. Shut up. Shut up. What's the question, Keemstar?
Well, all I'm saying is, do I hear a bunch of lefties complaining that someone can't get the appropriate medicine? Weren't you guys trying to ban all kinds of medicine during COVID
Oh my-
because you heard CNN say some
Well,
dumb shit?
this one apparently does actually work, and there's objective
Yes,
empirical
it
data.
is.
No.
Appropriate
Hold
medicine.
on. Don't say
This is
actually
prescribed by
works.
a doctor.
Well,
Don't say actually works. You all
were you aware-
went out of your way to ban Joe Rogan's medicine, calling it horse medicine and everything fucking else.
This guy's an itch.
But and I agree, right? Calling
there's
it
no
horse
s-
medicine
there's no
was
study that
probably a
would
little
work.
bit silly. But have you looked at the empirical
Well,
evidence? Because when
the horse
ivermectin first,
medicine
hold
thing
on,
was, like, just
hold on. Well, ivermectin is also used.
No,
with
it was just
horses for-
actually a lie.
Oh my God,
No,
this
Wait
story
a
guy's
minute,
lying.
wait a
horses,
minute,
we
let's let
absolutely
her finish.
deworm horses with ivermectin.
Okay, and we
sometimes.
also prescribe it to
Flamenco,
people.
please just let me finish.
We also
you're,
prescribe
you're
it- It's a
tr-
dewormer.
You're trying to shove me into a
She's
position
agreeing
that I
with
don't
what
have.
you're
Well,
saying, but
Yes,
because
I'm
you're
agreeing.
repeating a
No, wait,
lie. that's
flamenco,
been
flamenco,
repeated
you're not
multiple
listening.
times.
flamenco,
Flamenco.
Just like,
flamenco.
oh my gosh,
Flamenco,
Just
flamenco,
like when I
please.
told you what the article said, and then you tried to have a gotcha by being like, "This is what the article said," and I was like, "Yeah, I
Sorry,
know,
I was
said
mistaking
that."
you for Papa Gut, who's just
Yeah,
been kind of making
just-
up shit for the
Just
last like
right,
Sure,
yeah,
that's
Papa
true.
Gut,
Making
big
things up.
beard. Me,
Yep.
no beard, kind of weird hair tassels. Okay, that's the difference that's going.
They
on.
do
So,
look similar.
We do. We're both based. Okay. What I'm saying is when it comes to something like ivermectin, it's really hard to compare to Plan B because ivermectin in 2020 studies were robustly done. There was a lot of empirical studies and RCTs that were done to see if ivermectin actually helped because ivermectin is a legitimate drug that is prescribed for certain things, specifically funguses. However, in the empirical trials, it
very
was
salty, yeah.
non-effective. And then people kept pushing it as being effective, which was barring people from accessing more helpful measures.
I
So
like
we
this
can get
person
into
because then I
more
don't
of
have to
that if
explain
you really
anything
wanna
that I
get
say.
over
So
Just-
real quick, let me just debunk a little bit of that. So first of all, there's still 101 ongoing clinical trials of ivermectin as a prophylactic. A lot of these studies have pretty much conclusively shown that it is as a treatment, it is essentially useless. But there is still a lot of questions about whether or not
okay.
it is effective as a prophylactic. It's very, very cheap and easy to produce.
What is a
And
prophylactic?
it has killed orders of magnitude
Just
less
can't
than
spell that.
Tylenol overdoses because we don't actually know that ivermectin has ever
Oh,
killed
preventative.
anyone ever. There's 2 cases that we can look to in question, and then there's a lot of issues that were shown in an African study where people already had a ton of issues. So
Well,
we're
the
not
question is,
actually
what if
sure
you
that
slip on
ivermectin
it like a
even
banana
has the
peel?
ability to kill anyone if you are given correct and appropriate doses.
Yeah.
Now,
I
when
don't
you
really.
start banning
this is
medication,
insane.
and you limit people's medical freedom and you limit people's choices pills to medicate whatever they want to do or whatever their doctor prescribes. What does end up happening is that people do go and eat some fucking horse paste because they heard that something might potentially help them, and then your government stops you from being able to do so because it's not fucking Paxlovid, and Pfizer's not going to make fucking billions of dollars off of it.
What he said, exactly what he said. Don't take the fucking options away. So look, we can't complain about this woman not being able to get the abortion medicine for a different thing if we're also going to like
It
try
seems
to
more on
ban
topic, but
other
okay.
medicines that people were trying during the experiment time of COVID. Because let's be real.
gotta
When
pull that thing
COVID
back
came
up.
out, who were the experts? Let me tell you who the experts were. Fucking nobody. The government got it wrong. The fucking experts got it wrong. The media got it wrong.
Wait,
the
what did
World
they
Health,
what did they get
whatever the fuck-
wrong?
What do you mean? What did they get
just
wrong?
curious
They
what you're
got
referring to.
everything
This, but I
fucking
don't think he
wrong.
can hear me.
So
What is he talking
I
about?
guess like I guess my main contention with this is like, well, along with a lot of things, people are taking like things that they heard on social media as like actual fact. I actually
drugs are
want to see
wearing
like
off,
any
true.
sort of like actual source other than this person said they weren't able to get a prescription filled and they like just said it on Twitter. Like it's
Okay,
the same
let's
thing
make
with
up a
like it's well
hypothetical
no.
world about
No.
this.
If you're
Oh
gonna get
my
like all
God.
uppity when I get like to interject on something, you gotta let me fucking finish, okay? So first,
Yeah, erudite. Don't get uppity.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the first, so the first problem I would have is one, like with the Joe Rogan eating horse paste thing. That was just 100% not true. That was like a lie that was just perpetuated by media sources saying, "Oh, he took this." No, he took human medicine that was prescribed to him by a doctor because he's fucking famous and he can get a doctor to write a prescription for fucking whatever the fuck he wants. It was human doses of medicine. It's like, oh, Joe Rogan ate horse face. When you say that shit and when you run with that shit, even if you're like, oh, I get to just make fun of it because it's technically true when it's not really, you kind of make it so that people question whether or not you're actually telling the truth.
Dog,
So,
just
to
to be clear,
though,
because
you-
apparently her defending herself wasn't enough. She literally said that was misinformation to call it horse paste because
Yeah.
ivermectin was
Well, she
human
said
dosage is what was
technically
used.
it was 100%.
Bro,
Wait,
you are
And then
you are
say,
just
"Oh,
so
wait,
you're
wait,
so
wait,
primed
wait,
to be
wait,
so
hey,
annoying.
hey,
Holy
hey,
shit.
Hey, shut up.
Oh, I
Okay.
gotta turn fucking Stardust down.
I'm gonna give
Holy shit.
Not So Erudite a chance to respond. Go ahead.
This is fucking
I was
insane.
just gonna say, maybe flamenco, we can go to couples counseling and we'll do the weird thing that they
No,
make couples
I'm
do,
good.
where I make a statement and then you just summarize what you heard me say, because it's pretty obvious that no matter what I say, you're just going to create a weird straw man that never existed and then argue against that. And then I'll be like, cool, enjoy your one-sided conversation.
So
I'm not part
nobody
of
was
this.
spreading a lie that Joe Rogan ate horse paste.
I literally
Nobody
agreed
here
with you
said
on
that.
I said that that was inflammatory and incorrect to say.
Bro, she just called you out for making a straw man, and you literally responded making a straw man. What the
Dude, we got the peanut gallery here.
Nice.
flamenco?
Oh
Come
my
on,
God.
Real talk. I hate simping for Not So Erudite. All right, Not So Erudite loves to patronize me and my libertarian views all the fucking time, and we butt heads. But
Here he
like
goes
on this
again.
one,
I'm a
dog,
Wait a
here's
minute,
this
wait a
L.
minute.
Just take
Oh
this
my
L,
God.
bro.
I
What
really
kind of
think it's like
philosophy
an
do you
L,
have
but
again,
okay.
Fabian?
Please,
Just to be
why
clear.
are you egging him on? Stop.
Just to be clear, I do
I'm
want to know about
Antifa.
evictionism. I just don't want to talk about evictionism on a Roe v. Wade panel.
Yeah, no, evictionism is like a whole topic by itself.
I'm clearly Antifa. I'm anti-fascist. Clearly.
Okay.
Literally
Okay.
never seen you at any of the meetings, but fine.
Okay.
What's
Okay.
the next topic? Because I feel like this is boring.
Yeah.
Oh
this
my
next one-
God. Keemstar,
Well,
what
the next Congratulations, guys! Next topic is grooming. Okay,
Can I
before
go
we
first?
get there, you can go
Please.
first. But first, you can go.
He's
first,
trying to get ahead of me.
100%. But first, you go. Before you go first, I'm going first. So, chat. Remember, super chats are read between topics, and I'm going to read the only one super
Are you ready
chat
for this?
that I have here that says, "As an ANCAP, oh, so you're wrong twice." That's a super chat. Secondly, topic number
He's gonna
2.
need to defend himself. He's gonna go crazy.
is,
Hold on.
Here it is. Okay. The word groomer has been thrown around in online spaces quite a bit lately, often for 16-year-olds
ready for
dating
this?
other 16-year-olds. What age gaps could constitute grooming? Hollywood normalizes very large age gaps. Are age gaps inherently problematic or ripe for abuse? That is question number 2. Keemstar, did you want to go?
Oh, I have two things to say. One in the chat and everyone's
You guys
chat
ready?
because I know multiple people are streaming. One in the chat, if you watch a lot of these political debates, whether on YouTube, Twitch, or whatever, you see these characters all get in a group like we're doing right now. You're watching them, and then all of a sudden, grooming comes up as a debate or pedophilia or something. What is going on here? Like there are some very sus, like straight up pedos in these things. Every time I see one of these groups, they're debating pedophilia. Why? That is so fucking strange.
Because people want
Here's
to
the other
debate
thing
it.
I'd like to talk about. Here's the other thing I'd like to talk
It's
about. And this is the real
capitalism, dude.
reason. This is the real reason why I came on this show.
I changed my name to
I
Call Me
came on this
Carson.
show to confront Papa Gut, and that's the only reason why I came on. today.
Why?
So
Wait, my
I was
name
just
isn't Papa
waiting-
Gut, by the way. It's something different if you want to read that out for me.
I was waiting for the moment, and the moment is here. When we were on a little chat a couple months ago, I believe, you kept bringing up that it was weird that I, 40 years old, have a 21-year-old girlfriend, and you kept saying that this is weird. This is weird.
Well, I
this
think
is
the
weird.
bigger thing
And-
was I said that it was weird that you canceled Call Me Carson for a 2-year age gap.
No, you're changing it. You're changing the subject. You said it was weird. You were
Yeah,
judging
I think it's a
me
little
and
weird,
saying
sure.
that I'm weird.
Okay.
Now, just the other day, this guy on TikTok, a little irrelevant guy over on TikTok, was roasting your wife. He was calling her fat. He was calling her unattractive, all this stuff. You were getting
Okay.
salty about it, and you were defending your relationship, right? You were defending your wife.
What is
and that
happening
you
here?
love her and you think she's beautiful and all that other
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay.
Right? Are you weird? Are you weird for dating your wife? Are you weird?
I
for
don't.
dating your
I
wife,
don't.
being with your wife,
I truly
being married
don't.
to your wife. Are you weird? No, you're not weird.
I don't
because That's your
understand.
relationship. That's your relationship, and you get
What
to
the
pick
what
who
are
you
you-
want a relationship
What
with.
are you talking about? Well, how do these
I'm
two things?
talking
How?
about-
No, I just want to know how these two things
you
are linked,
didn't
right?
like-
So keep.
Because you didn't like when someone was judging you. You didn't like when someone was sitting there saying that your wife was unattractive, your wife was
Well,
overweight.
okay.
You didn't like that. And you're like, in my eyes, she's beautiful. All right. So in my
Just-
eyes,
I'm-
real
my
quick,
girlfriend's
Keemstar,
beautiful. That's
I'm
real
failing
quick.
to
Shut up,
see
Fabian.
how these
You're
things.
still talking.
Keemstar, you're a millionaire and you only have one 20-year-old girlfriend? Like, I find that
I
kinda
have
weird.
two, but one's hidden.
Oh,
One
okay. All
doesn't
right,
want
cool,
the
cool.
public
All right,
limelight.
fair enough.
Okay, so I don't think that these two things are analogous, right? I said it was offhanded, said it was a little weird. I never said it was illegal or wrong. I think that's a little different from me engaging with somebody about like a particular topic, and then instead of them responding to what I said, they just decided to go off on my wife.
You got mad. He went after your
Yeah,
wife.
okay.
He said, bro, your wife's ugly. Your wife's overweight, right? You said,
Sure.
I love my wife. She's beautiful. I love
Just don't.
her,
I don't
right?
see how these situations are comparable. I don't really understand. This just seems like you're waiting for something
don't
that
get
in
it?
your head
You don't get it?
made sense so
You
that
don't
you can
get it?
have a meltdown on it. It sounds like
Well,
you were
you-
holding on to that comment for months, and then like this, you felt like this was the first time that you.
I just thought you were being hypocritical because you should be able to date whoever you
Mm-hmm. When
want to
did I?
date,
Well,
right?
either way, when did I say you shouldn't be able to date 20-year-old girls?
You said it was weird. You said it was
What?
fucking
Who
weird.
cares if it's weird? I think that furries are
You
weird
got
too. I think that.
mad. You got mad when that guy on TikTok said your wife is weird. Your wife had issues, or your wife
What?
had problems.
I think you're-
He didn't approve of your wife, and you got real defensive.
I got. I got upset because
If you want to
he just
judge
started-
other
oh
people's
my God.
relationships, he should be able to judge your relationship.
Keemstar.
He should be able to get on TikTok and dunk on your wife and
Okay.
say that you're a weirdo for dating your wife, right? If you're gonna do that to other people,
Well, but
that's my
he
point.
wasn't saying I was a weirdo. He was saying that I'm not a high value man because my wife is overweight. You're the only one reveling in this. You sound fucking unhinged right now.
I'm sitting here letting you talk.
I don't know what else to say, Keemstar. These two
Yeah,
things
because
are
you don't
very.
have a counterpoint.
I
You don't have a
well, no, but the
counterpoint.
thing is, it's
So-
like it's just an insane point that you brought up. Right. So okay,
Well,
let me.
don't judge people's relationships. If when people judge your relationship, you're going to be a salty little bitch.
Okay,
that's my point.
So
you don't get it?
Keem, the issue here, right, is first of all, there's a difference between saying that it's weird to date younger women versus me attacking your girlfriend or whatever, right? That's the issue. So we had a disagreement on a different, completely.
girls.
We had a disagreement over some high value male bullshit, and instead of responding to the criticism, he just insulted my wife. That's not the same thing as me saying it's kind of weird that you date like younger girls. But I've
Hey,
even
if you're gonna go-
But especially considering, like, I've defended the fact that you're not a predator from, like Ethan Klein, for instance, who thinks that you're like a pedophile for it, which you're not. I just said it was weird. It was offhanded. Why are you taking this so personally?
Well, I thought you were hypocritical when you got all defensive
well, but
over
you're
your
wrong.
relationship. I was like, wait, well, people can call you weird for dating your wife, right? I mean, you do it to other people. You judge other people's relationships.
I don't even know how to respond to this.
Why can't people judge your relationships? Why are
Well,
you so unhinged?
you can judge my relationship, but it's weird that like nobody insulted. Well, I didn't insult your girlfriend, but you're supporting people like insulting other people's wives. It's bizarre. I just
I don't support him. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm just saying.
Well, you're supporting his action.
No, I'm saying that he should have the right. If you also
everybody has the right, but like,
Keemstar, are you saying that there's no age gap?
What's that?
Are you saying that there's no such thing as an age gap that constitutes grooming? Is that your position? Is that your opening statement?
Among adults, no. Among adults, no.
Then what age gap would you say?
What the fuck's happening?
I would say an adult.
I'm
with
just trying to get us back on the
opening
conversation
statement.
that we're stalking. This is his opening statement. I'm trying to get us back on the conversation because this is like going on.
If an adult is going after someone under the age of 18,
Bro, I'm
I
so
believe that
confused.
is grooming, right?
Anybody under the age of 18?
and 18,
Okay, got it.
is that grooming?
I would say, yeah, I guess, yeah.
What about a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old that are in high school together?
No.
What about a 17-year-old and a 19-year-old?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
Okay,
that's
so if I can
different.
bring something
Is anybody
up
keeping
that's
track of
been a
all
hot-
these?
If there's something,
Somebody writing this down.
I would like to bring up a specific thing. You guys know about Jesse Lee Peterson. Recently, allegations came out, people calling him a homo predator, if you will. Accusing a grown man of grooming other grown men into being in relationships with him sexually or otherwise. Do you think that there's anything there?
They're
they're
just virtue
adults.
signaling for their church.
I personally don't think so. I personally think
adults. Or
I personally
Are
think
we still doing opening statements?
No.
we've been derailed. I'm so sorry. We'll get back to it. But I personally think with Jesse Lee Peterson, you can say that maybe he's gay, whatever, let the dude live his life. But like if it's grown adults, grown men talking to other grown men, I don't know how I feel about calling that grooming.
Agreed.
Well, yeah, the only way that you could really groom an adult, I would say, is if the state deems them non-consenting because they have an intellectual disability. Like that's pretty much.
There you go.
That's it. Yeah.
Good point.
All right.
Good point. Very good point.
That's
yeah.
pretty much it. Yeah.
So who's next?
So
Is
let's
Doc
go
on the
do
radio
opening
next?
statements. Fabian, since you decided to bring it back, let's go straight to you.
I feel like we've
so
already
here's what
satisfied that.
I think anyone under the age of 18, as far as that is the culturally accepted in America age of consent, is unable to consent to sex with anyone, full stop. I don't care if it's a 17-year-old and an 18-year-old. I don't care if it's a 16-year-old and another 16-year-old. They're unable to consent to sex. Now, does that mean we should punish another 16-year-old with like the strong arm of the law because of this? No, that's not what that means.
Which 16-year-old would you punish? Which 16-year-old would you punish?
I'm sorry.
I'm
Go
going to
ahead.
finish. Go ahead. So I don't think that anyone that is a minor that is not fully developed is able to consciously consent to sex. I think once you are an adult and once you're a rational actor, once you're able to make decisions for yourself, I don't care about the age
my
gap.
mic's not muted.
Is it
My mic is
weird
muted
if
for
there's
them.
a 20-year age gap? Yeah, it's kind of strange. But that doesn't make it wrong. That doesn't make it immoral. It just makes it an outlier. It makes it different. And I don't fucking know what is going on there. Now, in terms of what is and isn't grooming, I think in order for grooming to actually occur, what you need to do is you need to triangulate someone that is unable to, someone that is a minor or someone with an intellectual disability or something, and you need to pull them away from their parents. And you need to isolate them. You need to love bomb them. There are a lot of things that I think constitute grooming that go beyond just like something that is inappropriate or targeting someone that can't consent. That's not really a process of grooming, right? When a teacher separates you, tells you they have secret little things that you don't have to tell your parents about, and gives you special attention and tries to like force you over into a period of time into their good graces and then assaults or abuses you. Yeah, that's grooming. When an 18-year-old fucks a 16-year-old, that's likely just a form of rape. Now, do we want to punish it
What?
the same way we do,
Bro, this is
violent
insane.
rape in an alley or something? No, we don't. So that's
Bro.
my opinion. I think Keemstar, it's probably slightly weird. Do I care? No, I don't
What
care,
the
man.
fuck, dude?
Do
This is
you. You're a
devolving.
fucking millionaire. You want to fuck a 21-year-old? Have fun.
I just find it very strange when you said no one below the age of 18 can consent to sex. I'm thinking the whole time, I'm like, bro, when did this dude lose his virginity? Like, when exactly did you lose your virginity?
Oh my god.
Around 16.
Okay, all right.
Wait, hold on.
Like, and I
Wait.
think most-
Follow up question. Do you feel like you were raped? I think he muted himself.
You're muted.
Oh, my bad. No, I don't think that I was able to understand the consequences of my action, but it was with someone else who was underage. I think we both did something that was probably irresponsible, but I don't know that this person raped me or that I raped this person.
Why was it
I
irresponsible?
just don't think we're because I don't know the consequences of the actions as a 16-year-old. I don't understand
Bro,
what I'm
what?
really getting
I
into.
was taught sexual education in middle school,
No,
like
there's
towards the
a
end of
difference.
middle
Listen,
school.
There's a
Like,
difference.
I know the
No.
consequences.
No, no, you don't. Like,
we
there's
do
a
need to get
difference.
to other opening statements, guys. I
I'm
love
being
the
attacked,
arguing.
so I'll defend myself really quick,
Okay.
and I'll be
Go
super
ahead.
quick. There is a difference between understanding what STDs are, understanding what pregnancy is, and understanding certain medical risks, and understanding what engaging with a sexual relationship means, and like what does that mean in terms of your psyche, and what does that mean about your maturity, and a lot of other things, right?
But you're like suggesting that being 18
You gotta
bestows
live
those
life.
understandings
You gotta
upon
experience shit, and you gotta learn from it. Like, that's part of growing up, bro.
This is
So,
true.
Doc, on the radio, your opening statement on this.
Yeah, sure. So, what constitutes grooming? I feel like if it's with a minor and it's above like 5 years plus, then yeah, I would consider that to be grooming. If it was like 17, 19 or 17, 18, I don't really consider that to be
Well,
like
it's
an act
not.
of grooming. With regards to like adults dating like younger adults, honestly, I really don't care. It's whatever. It's not grooming.
I brought that
I
into the
would say.
conversation.
Okay, factitionalist. Or sorry, what was it, Kaz?
Yep.
That you
That's
wanted?
me.
Okay. Kaz.
So, grooming, I think, is separate from the sex act itself.
Yeah, I agree with
grooming is the
It's a methodical,
like,
intentional
I think it was
process.
Fabian who was describing this. I think I largely agree with most of what he said. The psychological shaping of the personality, the manipulation of the situation,
Yeah,
and all that
I agree
stuff.
with that.
So I think that there isn't necessarily an age gap that constitutes grooming per se. I think that is just highly, almost entirely correlated with anything that is minor. 5 years, like was it Doc? Was it Doc on the radio? Like he said, I think it's not a bad. I think it's technically arbitrary, but workable, and I think that's fine. But what's at stake here, what matters is informed consent, and I think that in that case, I think that a lot of the sex that's happening in the world today,
What the fuck's happening?
is not necessarily in that state of informed
Look
consent.
at Keemstar right now.
Like Fabian was saying, there's a lot of ramifications to sex that people don't really understand. They just because you tell somebody in a PowerPoint in a high school classroom one
Fucking
time,
killing me, dude.
that doesn't mean that they really understand it. And
He's fucking having his girlfriend
and then even if they
hit him
did
with a
get that
fucking
class and they
fan.
showed up that-
Bro, this
just
guy's a
totally went back.
millionaire. Get a
I'm just
fucking
saying
fan.
that,
Dude.
there's a lot of sex going
Oh
on.
my
that isn't
God.
necessarily
Bro, I'm gonna have a fucking heart
with
attack.
informed consent, and yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Oh my god.
Blam.
Why doesn't he have a fucking a fan?
I guess,
Dude, that
when
just
it
fucking
comes to
kills
age
me,
gaps,
bro.
I generally don't
Oh
care
my
as long as
God.
both parties are consenting adults. I think it gets a little bit more into weird territory once you get like into the minor category, but generally a good rule of thumb is half your age plus 7. Generally tends to save people from some mistakes, but if some people are okay with it, I don't fucking care. A lot of this is sort of born out of this this hyper autism of power dynamics, where if you're young and a woman, you have less agency than if you're old and a man, I guess.
Well, yeah, generally.
I don't know. I
What?
find kind of
know.
nitpicky and dumb if people are happy together, then they're happy together. And,
Well, as long as the ages are
yeah.
reasonable. I don't
I guess
know.
the main focus on the word grooming is generally coming from a rather effective a rather effective nomenclature thing to label enemies of your political opposition as groomers, because technically it's kind of true if they're trying to like groom people into a certain type of ideology. There's like a very negative connotation, borderline on pedophilia because of that, but now the people who are doing it were engaged in some very, very cynical and not very well thought through name calling things for the last 10 or so years, calling anybody who's right of Bernie Sanders a Nazi. So, man, that really does suck, doesn't it? Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Not so erudite.
Yeah. I mean, I think
Can we
it's
just
fun
acknowledge
people
that she
use,
skipped
grooming
me?
as like their new favorite buzzword. I think grooming is a set of behaviors, and that often typically leads to sexual abuse, particularly of minors. If you look at the literature, grooming is exclusively focused on the type of behavior that essentially tries to normalize your closeness with the minor, to get all of the people in their life to be comfortable with you being close to that minor, and then to get the minor comfortable with you being increasingly close and eventually touching them, and getting that minor to be so convinced by kind of all of this that they don't tell because they believe that they can't, or that something is good for them, right? It's kind of this active, to some extent, it's not the same as gaslighting, but it's this active psychological manipulation and abuse to like convince somebody that they're not harm.
Oh shit, she got muted.
I'm really tired of people using like really serious behaviors, because
Okay.
grooming is obviously really fucking bad.
Bro, I'm still
in
fucking dying
situations
for
where it's not
the
appropriate.
fan.
I think it's better to call it, as I think actually Fabian said, rape, statutory rape, if that's what's going on. I disagree on Fabian about like 16-year-olds can't consent to sex and stuff like that. Other than that,
With
I
each
think,
other, of course.
18 is unfortunately kind of the
What is he
arbitrary
doing
line
now?
that we've
Oh
drawn.
my god!
It does
Now
get,
he's just trolling because he saw
weirder
me
when the
laughing
gaps
before.
are really large, but I don't think
He's
it's inherently
trolling
like,
now because he saw me
immoral,
laughing.
and it's definitely not
So
illegal.
now he's just gonna be fucking.
And there's good heuristics as to why like 20-year-olds in general probably aren't best suited for dating 52-year-olds. But at the end of the day, if both are consenting parties, and unless some like actual obvious abuse is going on,
I gotta butt in.
it's weird to talk about it like beyond that, in my view.
Can I butt in for 1 second? Sorry.
Keemstar's wife is currently.
Well, I just want to butt in for 1 second. Just so you know, it's better to cut your nails after a shower because they're softer. So I just wanted to say that.
Oh,
Thanks,
really? I
Gut.
didn't know that.
Really
That's
appreciate
that's
that
when
one.
that's when my wife cuts my toenails. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Portland is burning. Your statement.
Jesus Christ. Okay. So
They didn't know.
I
She does not like
agree
that.
with not so
This is
erudite
my last
that,
time I'm
like,
going to be
I
on this
don't
panel.
quite
She's not
see
going to
the
invite me
point
anymore.
in giving a different distinction to like 16-year-olds having sex with each other than you would like two 18-year-olds having sex with each other. I don't think there's anything like predatory or inappropriate there, and I don't think being 18 years old bestows any like sudden spontaneous knowledge about sex health or reproductive health or anything that would make it any more informed consent than a 16 or a 17-year-old. I do think that there's maybe some validity to the accusations of the Jesse Lee Peterson thing. If he's, approaching and targeting young men that are like 19, 18, 20 years old, then
My
I don't
God,
really have
Keemstar's
any
being
issue
fucking stupid
with
as shit.
that being kind of characterized in a similar way.
Cool. Okay. Well, now we'll open it up. You guys can.
I don't really have anything to say.
Whatever you want to each other. So, go back to arguing.
Look,
Sure,
I want to
Portland.
say that. I want to say super quick, and sorry, I know Erdo, you want to speak.
No, you're
like, to this idea of like why I say a 16-year-old can consent and an 18-year-old can, right? I don't think there's any magical fucking barrier that gets crossed, right? The idea is that we as a society have picked a standard age, which is 18, where we believe that someone is ready for the responsibilities of adulthood. Now, does that mean that, like, I think that an age of consent of 18 will invariably punish some people that are 17 or 16 that are mature for that, and it will also invariably punish some people who are 19 and 20 that are not ready for that responsibility, right? We need to make it easier to emancipate, and we need to make it easier, I think, for parents to be able to go through a process of maintaining guardianship of 19 and 20-year-olds. The fact of the matter is that it is an arbitrary magical line here that we as a society have drawn, and some people like some people that are 17 are going to be as mature as other 20-year-olds, and some people that are 20, or even Keemstar, who's in his 40s and can't make his fucking bed, are still going to be as mature as like a 16, 17.
Oh my god!
Right? Like there's
People
going
that
to
do
be a line of gradation here. But the fact of the matter is once we pick that and we give that person the responsibilities of adulthood, there's a contradiction once we start denying agency to people that have reached that age, right? And I think once we do that, like our legal philosophy is shit once we do that, and that's really my issue there.
Well, it sounds
we
like
have an age of consent that's different
Yeah.
from the age of majority, and it's set on the state level, though. And I'm sure that someone who's obviously
I'm having my
like, in
girlfriend make
favor
my
of
bed in a
less
swimsuit.
government,
Okay,
I'm sure
great.
someone like yourself that's in favor of less government wouldn't want the federal government mandating the age of consent uniformly across all states, right? You'd probably want to leave that up to the states if the state's going to exist at all.
I mean, well,
I wouldn't.
I don't know that
raise
it's
it's like
necessarily
21.
better to have Tennessee randomly decide that like 14-year-olds can get married, right? You know what I mean? Like,
You're,
so
no,
like I
but
don't
you're
know that that's
invoking,
necessarily
like,
better.
the
It's
legal
just
precedents, though, and like that's the legal framework that exists right now. You're referring to the age of majority as if it's the age of consent right now, kind of in your.
Seems
like,
pressed.
in
He's
your-
a little
I mean,
pressed.
for the most
He's a
part,
little
it is. For the most part, it is though, right? Like there's some states that delineate a small difference, right? And then there are Romeo and Juliet laws.
16
I'm not
is
trying to get
pretty common.
right. I don't want to get it. I don't want to get into like Romeo and Juliet laws and things like that, unless you guys want to, and that's fine. But what I'm saying, just to defend my argument, right, is that when I say that someone under the age of 18 can't consent and over the age of 18 can, as a general rule of thumb, we can go state by state, is that when an age of majority is chosen, we have to work within that confine, because that is when they're legally given the responsibilities of an adult, right? That is the age that we're arbitrarily determining is when people are conscious and ready to make those decisions.
So wait, hold on, really quick. So are you saying that like you would categorize sex as an adult activity, and that kids can't engage in sex? Like I'm confused.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I would say that.
So like,
that
is football like an adult activity that children shouldn't be able to engage in too? Like, where do we draw the like? Why is sex so magical where 16-year-olds can't get horny?
So it's not that I'm saying sex is magical. I would say that any and all activities are something that children don't have the capacity to consent in. I don't.
Well,
think
they're
they have the capacity
teenagers,
to
not
consent
children.
to
Teenagers.
anything, right? Now, parents.
He's right,
are
teenagers. Yeah.
Parents, like let's say 17-year-olds. I don't think a 17-year-old can consent to a goddamn thing. I think that the parents are the default guardians of their will as an emergent adult, and by that, the parents or the guardians, for sake of simplicity or for sake of allowing their kids to grow and teaching them, can allow their children to do things that they're okay with.
What if they allowed them to have
right?
sex? Is that okay? Not with them, of course.
I don't know that I have. I don't know. Right. Like a 16-year-old and a 16-year-old. Like, right. Like, I don't know that I philosophically.
Wait, so you're old enough to drive a car? You're old enough to drive a car, right? You're 16 years old, and almost every state.
That's actually a good. He's actually a good point. That's actually a good point.
But you can't fuck another 16-year-old. You can't fuck. You go to prom, all right? You go and spend the money on the suit. The girl's looking hot as hell, all right? You got to take the pictures.
How hot are prom girls?
You're hiding.
Oh
you're
my
hiding.
God.
I remember when I
Prom
went to
girls are?
prom. I remember when I
didn't go
went
to
to prom, and the girl that I took to prom was hot as fuck, right?
You have fond
and I
memories of
remember
those teenagers.
You're just being weird. You're being a creep right now when you're saying you're against all that. My whole point is like you're trying to say that like kids like going to prom, you don't consent to them like hooking up. Like what? Like that's part of like growing up.
Oh my God, she's like
So, like,
fucking
what everybody-
naked.
All I am.
Oh
saying,
my
right, is
God,
that children,
dude, she just walked to the camera
until they
half
reach
fucking
the-
naked.
The age of adulthood, until they are released from the guardianship of their parents, until
Bro,
that
he's gonna
occurs,
TOS the
that
stream.
they are not able to consent to anything that isn't necessarily permission
Unironically,
given from
he's gonna
their
give.
parents.
Okay,
Right, and because the parents are the guardians of their.
don't do it again. She's gonna be on.
That is
So,
my view.
Real quick.
minors
to
that
kind of
become
get a.
emancipated then, like what's the what's the intellectual
Bro, I can't.
or like,
I can't be with
you
this
know,
fucking shit at the
maturity
moment.
justification for like
Guys,
an
guys,
emancipated
guys.
16
She actually is doing it.
He's actually making his.
You're gonna,
Jesus.
you're gonna TOS the stream, Keemstar.
Just so if you're clear, if you're on Twitch, you should be disabling his video. Just
Why?
for those on, because
That's-
it'll violate Twitch TOS.
Yeah, I've already.
That's because she's not in a hot tub.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
basically.
Oh wait, really?
Well, she hold on,
Oh my
pause.
God.
She's doing house cleaning. All right, the activity
All right.
here
I have
is
a
not
feeling
sexual
the Twitch
content.
mods are not going to agree
the activity
with you.
here
Ugh.
is making the
The
bed.
clipping
I mean,
his
you guys
nails
can
was
do whatever
blurring
you
the
want.
line,
You are all
okay?
adults. Do what you would like with your Twitch. I'm just giving you guys a warning.
Speaking of which, now that Not So Erudite has been able to speak, I know she wanted to say something earlier, so.
Oh,
I don't know what the fuck is going on anymore, honestly. Like, we were just like fighting over like whether teens can consent to having sex, I guess. I don't know. The reality is like the age of consent, like the line that we draw it at is fundamentally kind of arbitrary, right? Like, how come we think 19-year-olds can, like in Fabian's view, why can a 19-year-old consent and like not a 13-year-old? And why can an 18-year-old maybe consent to certain things that a 16-year-old can't? Like the reality of like all of these things that we draw lines at, like age of consent, for example, it's fundamentally somewhat arbitrary. We like use it as a society as like a pretty
this
good
guy still
heuristic of like,
fucking
this seems like a pretty good
Say
time
what?
where they're like smart enough to like, you know, decide if they want to date an adult and they're independent
shit.
enough more or less legally.
Bro.
So that's kind of what we worked with. But like age of consent is actually like this really complicated thing. And this isn't to say like we should just go fuck buck wild, but you can make a very good argument for why maybe age of consent shouldn't be until like 25, and that any sex with anyone under the age of 25 is kind of like inappropriate.
I mean,
based
that
on,
would be
like,
the most
brain
subjective.
development.
Yeah,
that would be
yeah.
the most objective, but you could also maybe argue like once puberty ends, their like brain isn't going all wild, so like now maybe 18's okay again. So like all of these lines that we're drawing are somewhat arbitrary. The issue is that like we have to talk about like the reality is like we do have to talk about like power dynamics. Like this is how the arbitrariness like becomes an issue is that like
Let's see if they're still making
arbitrary
the bed.
18 is
Okay,
a
we should
heuristic
be
of
good.
like they're developed enough that they
Fucking
can
speed
probably
ran,
make
creating the
decent
bed.
decisions for themselves, and they're as a society we're saying you're fully culpable for the decisions that you make to some extent.
Okay.
I want to ask about power
Legally, they
dynamics. Not so erudite. If somebody like if I have some kind of like deep desire to hook up with a very very powerful woman, is that something that I don't have the
Well, a power
agency?
power
to
dynamics,
do?
because the existence of a power dynamic doesn't
Are
make
you
it
asking
abusive.
me because that's what you think I actually believe, or are you just trying to see what I actually view things as?
I really wanted to see.
Okay. It would really depend. Probably not. I mean, I definitely wouldn't call it grooming. I would say that it's fully legal. It might not be the most healthy relationship, though. It's probably not the best grounds
So-
for a healthy long-term
Yeah, I mean,
relationship. But if you
I can
guys just want to
definitely see-
fuck, go wild.
Well, who cares?
You know, if you're both adults.
I can definitely see how like it can work out. Like the actual interactions that we would actually have could end up being unhealthy for me. I can see that totally.
What
But
if
I
it's
mean,
in, like, a
just the
therapy
decision to actually get into that situation. Do
I
you
wanna
think
weigh in
that
on this
it's
so bad.
inappropriate for me to have that agency?
For you as the employee to decide that you want to fuck your boss in doing so?
Right. Or
Yeah,
not
if
even a
you're
boss,
both
just anybody who's
adults,
very powerful.
And assuming you're both adults, yeah, you have that choice. Now, again,
Oh,
we can talk
Keemstar
about whether it's
left.
healthy or not. I think somebody said something about therapy. I'd say that's a little bit different.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah,
So
that's definitely
Yeah,
different.
you probably
There's
should fuck
ethical
your
concerns.
therapist.
Can I just want to jump in on the power dynamic thing. So the existence of a power dynamic doesn't instantly make it abusive. It's really if somebody leverages that power dynamic against you, right? So if that older woman said, you have to fuck me, or I'll like ruin your life in some capacity with my power, then it would become like wrong. But outside of that, it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Sometimes you encounter people who are really on the other side of the spectrum when it comes to power
Yeah,
dynamics.
they think
And I
that
was
there's
just trying to
any
get an
power
idea of where you
dynamic.
were.
I'm
Thank you.
really
Essentially a
really
rape to
stressed
them,
off
yeah.
when people are like any power dynamic and it's abuse, and it's like that's insane, right? That would mean that like I'm married to my husband, but at one point I was technically his boss for like 2 months, and we're in like this weird power dynamic where I'm now abusing my husband constantly. Like,
Well, also
probably not.
We could take it even farther and just say that he's a man and he's physically stronger than you, and so it's
That
rape
power
unless you're
dynamic
with a
is
woman.
Yeah. Well,
Right. I know.
but
I
nobody
think
agrees
that-
with that,
frail
so we
man.
won't go there.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you're gonna bring up power dynamics, I don't think power dynamics show anything at all. Like I mean, someone could be insanely powerful and have a lot of control over you in your life, and I don't care. Like, did you make that decision freely, or were you coerced into making that decision? And the existence of the power difference is
what I
not
just said, yeah.
coercion; it's not an act of aggression, right? And
this
I
kinda
think I
gets-
would agree with factionalists
This
here.
gets
They
right to,
you
like,
utilize
can
the
that
use
heart-
power
coercion without speaking. You can use coercion without speaking. You can just use your presence to coerce somebody.
Or you can
That's
create a
insane.
coercive environment by providing
Yeah,
someone.
Then you're getting into like
incentives
then you're getting into like
Portland,
you
you just
mind
gotta
reading
keep talking over them
territory.
because we can barely hear you, buddy.
No, that's absurd to say that because someone has power, right? Or because someone creates a situation in which you fully voluntarily chose to be in, right? That you were coerced. And
Yeah,
because
but we've all
of the
seen a
power in the
gangster movie,
situation.
right? Like we all know how to talk without talking. I mean, it's not that hard to.
If you're
to-
making
you-
veiled threats,
don't
then
need-
obviously, yes. But that's not the
Yeah.
existence of the power. That's
Wait,
the act of coercion of flexing your power with veiled threats.
Can
But
you
if it's veiled enough,
I know what
then
he's
that's
saying.
all you have to go back
That's a
on.
contract that's under duress, right? Like you're under duress. You feel like you're being coerced. That's not a consensual contract.
If you ever feel like
You
that,
can
you should
be-
probably also just like bring it up to the person that's making you feel uncomfortable, and then if they press the issue, then there's like something that's wrong there. If not, then okay, then you misread signals.
This idea of like power dynamics is how we end up in this situation where like people are attacking Aziz Ansari for having bad dates.
Yeah.
I think it's a useful lens when you're using it in the only useful limit that it should be used, which is like understanding that power dynamics can create fertile grounds for certain types of like abuse and coercion to happen, but not that they inherently do that, right? I think that's the
If
only
that's what
useful
the
part of
argument
looking at a
was,
power
like,
dynamic.
Generally, that would be great, but like that's not the lens that people use. They use it to
I get that.
basically schizo post essentially.
I totally agree with that. It's just
Well, I don't think
that's
Keemstar
not the
Ben,
argument that I'm going to be
Yeah.
making.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
if you want
just
if
as
you-
long
if
as
you
you
want to
acknowledge that
make the
there is that
argument,
argument.
if you want to
That's
make the argument that people that have more power than other people are more able to utilize that power towards their advantage and are more easily able to coerce people, then like, yeah, but like, I don't understand how you're using that lens in terms of this conversation. Like, why is that lens important at that point, as opposed to just the act of coercion?
Because I think the lens, like the question was originally grooming, right? And so like if there's a power dynamic,
I think he just
exists,
left.
So part of
Probably
what
to
is
fuck his
inherent
girlfriend or
to
something.
grooming is the fact that there's this power dynamic. Sorry, this is real loud truck. There's this power dynamic between like the adult and the child, because almost exclusively when we're talking about grooming, we're typically talking about children to adults, right? And so the power dynamic is inherent because the adult is able to use essentially their their more developed brain, the fact that they're an adult and people are going to trust them more, their relationships with others and whatnot, to essentially coerce and like manipulate and,
think anybody
and
disagrees with
psychologically
this.
like control the child to have a certain view of the world, a view of their relationship that they feel like they can't even break out. So like that's why I think when we're talking about grooming, that's where power dynamics come into play, is because the power dynamic is inherently part of the grounds that allows grooming to occur.
I mean,
But then,
I would
people
agree
take
with
power
that, yeah.
dynamics and then just abuse it and try to say that like everything's a power dynamic and so everything's unethical, which is
Yeah, I think just like grooming, the term power dynamics kind of invokes a certain worldview or philosophy that isn't what you're describing. It's an unfortunate like kind of capture by ideologues of certain words, right? Groomer is something that has been captured by the right at this point. Just like, when someone hears fascist, right? Like nobody knows what the fuck a fascist is anymore because everything's a fucking fascist. And I would say that power dynamics kind of has that same similar aspect there, where I mean, obviously power dynamics is Marxist, where it's critical theory, but even still, like it means so much more and it invokes so much more that like, I don't think that your argument is unfair in any way.
Well, and
I think
within
that
the
it's useful
context, I
in
think
just,
it's really important to understand too that like the initial thing we were talking about was Jesse Lee Peterson and his. I mean, that was kind of the initial topic that brought it
I
up.
brought him
and-
up as an example.
It's
but-
more
right.
professional
No, and
now
I'm
about
just
Jesse
kind of
Lee Peterson,
referring
yeah.
back to how that could be perceived as like a situation where one legal adult could groom another, so to speak. Because if I'm not mistaken, Jesse Lee Peterson's accused of being predatory with young men who are seeking like his therapeutic advice. He is a Christian counselor, I believe, and
Is he?
the accusations pertain to him being in that position and using that to prey on men who are confused about their sexuality and coming to him for help. And those could be, 18, 19, 20-year-old men. And I still think that would be a valid, situation where you could describe it as grooming because of the perceived power differential and like the way that those dynamics affect their interpersonal relationship. It's not just a 50-year-old man and a 20-year-old young man. It's
think-
like a therapeutic relationship.
Maybe. I don't know if
that
you need to
makes
use the word
it
grooming
kind
to
of,
make it
a
inappropriate.
I think
different
Not So
conversation.
Erudite will agree with me on this. I hope so, at least. I think there's kind of two other elements in the therapeutic relationship that make it so much more significant significant. One is that you're kind of like, by nature of the therapy, you're already like triangulating, like not intentionally, but like you're already in a situation where you're telling me secrets that you're not telling other people, right? So you're kind of already isolated in what you're sharing with the therapist. And then the other thing is that there's more than just the power. There's a deep element of trust, and there's also the skills and the familiarity at which the therapist is able to engage in that relationship in kind of controlling you. So I think that's a particularly egregious environment, if there is like ethics violations there, or that makes it far easier than almost any other situation that I can think of.
I'm not
But
even,
do you
to
think
be
it's-
honest, I was just going to say, I'm not even wholly opposed to the idea that it is possible to also groom an adult. The literature is just not there. So when I'm talking about grooming, I'm focusing mostly on the literature. I think what you're talking about, right, when you've got this therapeutic relationship, right, like they're checking off a lot of the grooming boxes, right? They've got access to the individual, they've got the inherent power dynamic, they have the some level of selection of victim. Because I imagine that this person didn't abuse every single one of their clients. There was probably some level of like, whether it was intentional or unintentional vetting that was going on about like who you're selecting as like which, if he's, and I'm not sure the situation, was he sleeping with his clients? I'm not totally sure.
They're accusations. They're not like
I don't
substantiated. They're
Okay.
just accusations.
Let's say in the hypothetical world that at this point, there is a therapist that is sleeping with clients. Like it is possible actually that therapists could be engaging in grooming with adults. Like I think that is possible. The issue is that typically when we talk about adults grooming other adults, it feels like we jump basically to like, well, there's a power dynamic, so it was grooming. And it's like, it doesn't mean that it necessarily was. In the case of this counseling situation, though, it's very likely that there could be grooming going on because it's the exact environment that you need for
I don't
those
know if I
behaviors
would
to occur.
use. Sorry if I interrupted, but I don't know if I would use the word like grooming for. I don't know, because like
This is a
if
different
it's
word.
like Jesse Lee Pearson, who's like, I don't know, in his 40s, he's an older man, and he's quote unquote like grooming 18, 19-year-old like adults. I wouldn't really use the word grooming in that case.
But just because they're over 18, right? Like that's
yeah, because they're adults. I think that, I mean, if they're adults, they
right.
can
But
make their own-
like if the age of majority was suddenly changed to 21 by federal mandate tomorrow, you'd suddenly have a different opinion on it, or?
I mean, sure. I mean, we drew the line at 18, so if they moved it, then yeah. I mean, I guess I would have to, in terms of like, yeah, in that sort of, in that
Well,
argument, yeah.
why does it
So
have to
that's
be?
kind of the
Why does
weird
it have to be
thing,
grooming
right?
for it to be inappropriate, though? Like that's I think
Yeah.
that's one of those
It doesn't
things.
have
you
to
know?
be
Yeah,
grooming,
I
but
never argued
grooming
that, yeah.
doesn't like. I'm not saying that it necessarily has to be, but I'm saying that like on its face, the term grooming and the characterization of it that we've all kind of agreed upon here doesn't seem to rely on any inherent like, are they or are they not 18, and is 18 the majority, like the age of majority or not? There seems to be an arbitrary line being drawn here where like at 19 or 18 suddenly it's no longer grooming, even if it's the exact same set of behaviors under the exact same like set of relationship dynamics, and that doesn't really make sense.
Can I ask a question real quick? Has anyone actually seen this? And here's my, and I'll explain.
I
Like
saw it.
maybe it's because I'm in an echo chamber and like the spaces that I go where I have a lot of like libertarian and anarchist things that I follow, and a lot of like right wing stuff, and not a ton of left wing stuff. But like I don't think I've seen anybody ever use the term grooming as a means of talking about like 16-year-olds engaged with relationships with other 16-year-olds. It's been almost exclusively, from what I've seen, right-wing
Where do we come
people
from?
attacking teachers, attacking the LGBT kind of movement, attacking like gender ideology and things like that, and accusing them of grooming adults, grooming children into a political ideology or into sexual relationships.
So
like
the
I wonder if
political
this
ideology
question
is
even
the
makes
more popular
sense.
one
Yes,
right now.
on the left, you're missing some stuff. So there's been a lot of
Okay.
like Twitter stuff that's been going on of like 16-year-olds accusing like 18-year-olds and stuff like that of engaging in grooming when they're dating somebody who's like within 2 years of their age. So we actually are seeing both. Yeah.
Okay, I was just like a genuine question because I've yet to see any example of that, and so I'm like, what the fuck is this question?
It's
It
mostly
seems
on
like it's
Twitter.
watering down. Seems to be watering down the way that the right wing is trying to use it to attack gender ideology for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, that is also part of what is being used with grooming, but then there's the flip side on.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
This Jesse Lee Peterson thing, the guys that are accusing him, they're not like young men or anything, though. But I do agree.
Yeah.
I think you
They're
changed
all
my
more
mind,
like
though.
30s or
The
40s.
pastoral role that he had could convey some kind of therapeutic type ethics on him. And I see
and
your
he
point there.
actually, like, he's a Christian he's like a young men's Christian counselor too. You can use his services you can obtain his services with your insurance in the state of California. Like, he's a licensed counselor. Yeah, he's a licensed counselor. He doesn't have to have like a degree. Apparently, in the state of California, according to one of his radio shows, you can just kind of get a certification for counseling or something, like
he's
as a
not a
part of a
psychologist.
religious.
Oh, okay, yeah, he's like a pastoral counselor.
Yeah, and because of the particular
Well,
way
no,
that it's classified
theoretically,
in
an
the state of
18-year-old can.
California,
I don't think he really
utilized as like an
I mean,
actual like
an
therapist
18-year-old
for
and a
insurance
16-year-old. I don't think you could like
purposes.
theoretically
he's
groom a
being
16-year-old at 18
kind of
because it's not considered
very,
an inappropriate
like,
relationship.
gray area in
So
terms of his
the biggest
like,
part about it,
therapeutic relationship with his clients, but he definitely positions himself as like a young men's counselor. So. And there's a lot of that relationship that seems like it has an inherent kind of predatory opportunity to it. So
yeah, when it comes to grooming, it's like an intentionally setting somebody up for manipulation and like sexual abuse. Yeah, like, I don't think there's any circumstance where a 16-year-old can be groomed by an 18-year-old. You know,
in terms of the dynamics of the relationships, seems like it's pretty much all the things that we all agree.
You don't want me to what? I don't know. We want to push back on gender ideology.
Yeah, I think it's fully fair
predatory
to
is
call
probably
something...
the better word for it anyway.
Well, if grooming is actually occurring, I think it's fine to call it grooming. Like, I think grooming can happen to adults. We just have to make sure it's grooming that's going on, and it's not some other form of abuse, right? Just like you can gaslight a child into thinking that they have a mental illness, just like you can gaslight an adult, right? So like this idea that like it must only occur with minors doesn't make sense, again, because of the arbitrariness of 18. The reality is, like, I think people can be groomed at any time. The issue is that children are much higher risk for being groomed because you can convince them of a lot of batshit crazy things that sometimes a lot of groomers need to convince kids of to maintain the sexual abuse typically. That's why it more often happens with kids, and there's not a lot of literature on adults. But honestly, I think the literature probably should extend into adults and like look at like what are grooming patterns? Are they being replicated in adult relationships, or is it just predatory? Like, is it just unhealthy? Is it abuse? What is it?
Well, then on that note, though, because like a lot of the argument, as Fabian said, a lot of the grooming talk right now in terms of right-wing spheres is generally garnered towards, I guess, trying to mold kids into certain political ideologies at a young age by public school teachers via like a variety of different things. Should that be disallowed? Should that be frowned upon to try to essentially mold kids into political ideologies that teachers themselves have?
Oh, so you're saying you're asking should we be allowing teachers to be teaching these curriculums, not should we be calling those teachers groomers?
Sure, that too.
I don't even know what.
I just want to say that as a product of the American public school system, the only public school teacher who ever like overtly injected an agenda that was probably like inappropriate into the classroom was my heavily religious Christian teacher in like small town in Arkansas, who made us pray every day and like to start class. So like, I don't know where this idea that like LGBTQ teachers are like indoctrinating children into their ideologies as a part of their school curriculum.
I mean, like, that's not a debatable thing anymore. Like, you can
mean?
debate the rate at which it occurs, but you can't. You can no longer debate that there isn't intentional attempts to try and take children into these ideologies. Right, like that's that's an absurd point to make.
Make them accepting of these ideologies, or bring them into these ideologies. Like, those two terms.
No, both. Right. I don't think that you can make the argument that there aren't some examples. You can make the argument that it's not widespread. Right.
Okay.
You can make the argument that like, hey, we tend, libs of TikTok and accounts like that tend to take the worst examples in a country of 330 million people and then like bring that to the forefront. And you're seeing like 1%, if even that, being represented in like a hyperbolic way. And like these teachers are a problem, but the idea that the education system is completely infiltrated is silly. I don't know that I would make that argument because I'm really against this shit, but that is a fair argument. But to make the argument that it doesn't exist, or like I don't know where people are getting this idea from, is like is ludicrous, because we've seen tons of evidence of it.
my point is to say that it's an incredibly small minority of people whose actions are often being misrepresented or taken in like the worst possible way, when in reality, like, they're being clipped out of context or misrepresented by a social media account like Libs of TikTok. So
yeah,
like,
I mean, like I said, I think that's a fair argument. I don't know that it's like I believe that it's systemic. I believe that we're having issues with that when we start to see, states take on policies, when we start to see, transformative social emotional learning be something that we are having teaching seminars on and things like that. I think we're very closely getting over that edge where a majority of children in schools will in some way, shape, or form be intentionally indoctrinated into neo-Marxist philosophy as a means of creating a new vanguard party.
By that, though, you just
What
mean
the
like
fuck are we
being
talking about?
generally acquainted with the concepts of like equality and
No.
not
I mean,
being,
taking. I
given
mean,
any
like
explicit
transformative.
message or
No. Of course not. Like, I mean, like taking children, right, and then using the CASEL model, which was developed for kids with conduct disorder and oppositional defiant disorder, not for general use in the classroom, and then having teachers, intentionally try and put children into the fear zone, and then use their other classmates to shame them, and with the intentional desire to destroy the ideas of individualism and capitalism and heteronormativity, and to intentionally instill young children in the classroom into believing collectivist ideology and believing
What the fuck is
neo-Marxian philosophy, and warm them up to create an entire political activist vanguard party of children that will be deeply damaging to the United States and to the psychology of children.
Where are we seeing any of that? Like, I get
so
that more
Pennsylvania, New York, California, South
wait,
Carolina.
no. You're wait, hold on.
Seminars.
You're saying because there's more people identifying as like non-binary in these more progressive states that means that teachers are trying to groom kids into destroying America.
I'm specifically talking about transformative social emotional learning, it being taught to teachers, watching the seminars, and then reading
how does that
the
manifest
literature on
itself?
TSCL.
I just wanted how does that manifest itself? Like, you were referring to a specific teaching style. Like, what is
Can we remove grooming from this? Can we just first of all say that schools aren't grooming kids almost ever unless they're actively trying to like train children to be sexually abused by like power dynamic people?
We also accept
we
that
just stop using the grooming
everybody's
language.
the right of Bernie Sanders as the vanguard of the Fourth Reich. I mean, I don't know. Like the left side of the argument, getting like really upset. The left side of the argument getting really mad about hyperbolic language is like, I don't know. It's giving me a little bit of a Schadenfreude moment.
Like a little annoyed.
So typically, I almost never tone police. I don't even care if you're using big, mean, nasty words or you're hurting people's fifis. Grooming is just really inaccurate. Indoctrination. If you want to be hyperbolic, indoctrination is your word to use.
Most
grooming
people
is stupid to use.
If we're going to start calling people groomers for indoctrinating,
well,
then
thank God
everybody's
we didn't.
No. Let me
people that make edgy jokes on Twitter also aren't members of the Fourth Reich, though. We can accept that too, right?
Wait a minute. The topic here was about whether the word groomer is being thrown around too much, and I think we've established that it is. So I think Not So Erudite makes a pretty good point here in that maybe we shouldn't be calling this grooming.
It's false, and I'm gonna say why. Right, the idea that we cannot have colloquialisms and terms that are not used, like that don't get to maintain the definition and the halls of academia is like kind of silly, and I find it funny that we now only make this argument.
Is just a bad one.
Right. Well, I don't think so, because I think the idea is that the only change to the word groomer that is being taken in terms of the way the right wing is using it to attack gender ideology in schools is that instead of just sex, it has become about political ideologies. But the process that they're describing is the same process. The process of separating children, of normalizing a personal relationship, of bringing them into the ideology, of having them change their names without their children.
You've already used a word. You've already used the word indoctrination.
You literally just described Sunday school.
We're
indoctrinating children when putting a word for it. It just doesn't get as far.
That's my point. Like, if you're okay with using indoctrination,
you could say
wait a minute, guys. Wait a minute. We just got fucking done. Done talking about why using the word groomer.
Like, who cares about them using the word grooming?
Is fucking lame. Maybe we should take a page
I just turned it down because it's fucking screaming.
No, I will use the word groomer, and I will say
okay,
that
then every time I see anybody take anybody to Sunday school,
Who cares
I'm
if
gonna
he
call them a
uses
groomer.
the groomer?
Where am I hypocrite? Where am I hypocrite? Point out the
mean,
hypocrisy.
You're using the
Do it
word
now.
wrong.
Grooming is almost exclusively about sexual abuse. If you're like
No,
forcing somebody, yes.
In online
Yes.
discussion,
No,
in
no,
online
you,
discussion,
like-
well, hold on.
So
I'm really
we're
happy.
talking about the
In
problem
online
with
discussions, in online discussions as a
about it.
pejorative, yes, it is almost exclusively used as a sexual term. In terms of like modern usage, no.
In the
Like
academic
you could
literature,
easily,
grooming is about sexual abuse.
Okay, I don't care about academic literature.
That's
I'm
what
saying
we're
that
talking
it's
about.
Like,
The
have you
Twitter
ever had to like
finish
convince one of them to
freaking
eat their
statement?
peas?
Hold on,
Do you have to like
pause,
take them
pause, real
across
quick.
the
Can I finish
Real
a
quick.
statement, please? Thank you. Yes. So grooming has also been
This
used
is unnecessary.
by and large for anybody who's preparing a person for another position. Generally a child. If you're a person who is the heir of a fortune, generally your parents will try to groom you so that you're acceptable in society, so that you act a certain way, you talk a certain way. You could argue that, like, you know, the Jeb and George Bush were groomed for political office from their parents. Like, this is not a word that's like random. This is not a term that just randomly popped up to call people pedophiles without calling them pedophiles.
Also, here's my question, Natsurda. If we were having a panel and it had nothing to do with gender ideology or left-wing politics, and instead we were having a panel specifically describing the way cults target children and bring them into cult ideologies, a cult that is not sexual in nature, but is extremely dangerous and might even cause people to kill themselves and do all kinds of stuff. Would you be interrupting, being like, no, you can't use the term grooming because like that's not the appropriate word? Do you honestly believe that you would do that? Or do you think maybe
I'm like
it's
burnt out at
because
this
this word is being used as a weapon to attack a political philosophy that is representative on the left, and you don't like that, the inaccuracy of that, just like the right has not liked the inaccuracy of dozens of fucking terms that have been used and reappropriated to attack anyone sent like right of fucking counterpoints.
So I would still say if you're talking about cults and sexual abuse isn't happening at all, grooming would be the wrong word. It would still be indoctrination and probably radicalization as well. Those words
fair
are
enough,
fine.
but it seems a bit like an actually moment instead of actually talking
That's
about
fair,
the
but the
problem.
whole
Wait, why
point
are-
of
What's
the
wrong with actually
conversation
moments?
was about like concept creep of the word grooming. Is it being used? Like that seems to be the point of it. And so it's just weird in the panel to be like, well, why can't we concept
This conversation is
creep here?
grooming
And
to
it's
kill
like,
myself is
or
what's
like,
happening.
why are you getting mad that we're concept creeping this word? And it's like, wait, what? Didn't we all just agree that people overuse the word grooming? Why don't you use the word indoctrination, especially when you're talking
people
about like,
overuse the
important
word.
things?
People
Because
overuse plenty of words, but
the
like,
problem is
Okay,
that
well
there's
then
no
I
word
guess
for
Guys
maybe
it.
we should
usually
just
have
call everyone
issues when
groomers.
they
make
overuse
one up.
words like fascist and Nazi and
I
commie and
fucking
stuff like
hate
that.
that.
You
Yeah,
I'm not
I
leaving
hate
the
when
We
people
conversation,
usually
so-
have
overuse
issues on the
Nazi.
right when that's overused. So I don't understand why you're
But
like
the problem is
defending the
there's no
degradation
word
of these words because
So
you get
make
to
one up.
smuggle in a bunch of sexual baggage with the word
There
groomer
are
and use
other
that
words
to
to
imply
be
a bunch
English
of other
language
stuff
is
about it.
fluid. You can make up new words.
I'm
You can
fully
coin
aware
a
that
new
you can make
term.
up new words. I get that. But what I'm saying is that the right has used this word because it is so eerily close to grooming, right? It is the exact same. What is occurring in schools is the
indoctrination.
exact. But it's not just indoctrination. It's the triangulation, the abuse that
Dude,
exactly. That's why
There's
they
Well,
no
hold on.
triangulation
Why
If
is
it's
it-
curriculum,
so why is
if
it a
it's
problem?
curriculum
If it's
based and
We-
it's
eerily
going out to the
similar,
masses, it's not
what's the problem with the left referring to the alt-right as fascist?
I'm sorry,
Why is
what?
that a
I'm
problem?
sorry. Can you? You're.
Eerily similar.
I'm
If it's
fucking
eerily
melting
similar,
down right now.
grooming and the behaviors you're outlining in this
Mhm.
case. Why are we opposed to the left calling alt-right individuals fascistic? Why are we against?
I'm
them
not
calling
opposed to
them
that.
Nazis?
I think the alt-right are fairly close to fascistic ideology. Now, to call them fascist, I don't know that the alt-right. It's
Sure,
like, are
Nazis.
they? Do they have blood and
Actually,
soil?
moment.
You know what I
Actually,
mean? Like,
moment.
it's not an actually moment. She asked, like, why is that
Okay.
inappropriate?
I just think
I've
that
called them fascistic before. Like, they are in many ways.
I just think that once the hyperbolic name calling genie's out of the bottle, it doesn't go back in. So get ready
Why do you wanna
for
make the
a
problem
lot
worse?
of nastiness. Listen,
Why do you wanna make the problem worse, man?
I think abusing kids is worse than the fucking degradation of the language.
Me engaging
Yeah,
in it
but
doesn't really like.
justifying the
We're
degradation of certain words
devaluing the
because
word,
somebody
aren't
else
we?
already
Like
did
that
it.
feels like a pretty big thing to be devaluing.
No, it's more important, right? If you're
Who started
using
it?
the
I gotta
wrong word that
press
has
the
a
jump in a sec.
Did you just say
meaning,
who started
Who cares
it, dude?
if who started it?
Wait, no, who
Kate.
unironically started it?
Okay, let's
started
not
the-
talk
who
about
started
why
it?
the degradation
Who
of
asked?
words
Who
matters.
started? Who
Like,
started the
unironically.
hyperbolic?
I started it.
Who started the hyperbolic name calling?
I mean, I'm not
grooming you.
agreeing with people using the word
started it.
Nazi for everything. I'm not agreeing with people using the word fascist for everything.
Yeah, I know.
right?
Yeah, but this isn't like we're not on the playground. We're not being like, yeah, but you kicked me first. Okay, we're talking about why does the degradation of the language actually matter? Because words have some level of descriptive power. So if you're talking about say everything Fabian is outlining is actually happening, there is a group that is actively indoctrinating children into like far left, communist, Marxist, I forget all the words you used, worldviews around the world that are like destroying heteronormativity and destroying our culture at large. And then you kept calling it grooming. The issue is that both the description is wrong, and from that, your prescription of how you react and how you correct that is also incorrect, because the way that you counter grooming isn't inherently the way that you counter indoctrination.
That's silly.
Well, I
Because,
think
like,
I think that the
I don't actually
the
think that's true.
I think the
like,
biggest
in this
issue is that we
case, it
haven't
would be the
actually
same thing. We would
we haven't actually been able
certain-
to talk about what Fabian believes. We've been just talking about if it isn't or isn't grooming, but we don't even really.
He brings it up every time he
No,
says something.
yeah, I know what you mean, but like pressing him on like what he was talking about, because we kind of got to this thing where he's talking about how there's this like entire conspiracy theory where kids are, I don't know, instead of them just becoming gay, they're just, I don't know,
They're
getting
becoming
groomed.
Marxist super
I want to,
agents,
yeah. I'm more interested in that conversation, like whether it is. I know that the topic is about grooming, but like maybe
can
if
talk
what
about it.
if what he's saying is true, maybe you could use the word grooming. I don't know if it'd be hyperbolic or not, but like I'm more interested in like what the fuck are you talking about? Because we started with like being gay is more accepted in schools, and we somehow got to neo-Marxism. So I want to know how we got there.
Oh, I mean, how do you describe the entire process of how gender ideology came to be? Is that what you're asking me? Like,
I
how we
want to.
got
I want to
there?
know how,
Please.
because I've never really heard of a situation where like schools are indoctrinating children to be neo-Marxist. Like I know
Like-
teachers tend to be more left-leaning, but that doesn't mean that there is this widespread conspiracy to turn kids into communists.
Like
I don't think it has to be a widespread
set their own
conspiracy. There just has to be a certain threshold where people acknowledge, hey, it's really
This is a
weird
problem,
that these teachers feel very emboldened to openly try to indoctrinate kids into certain political ideologies that are just extremely weird. That's a little weird.
But it's
and
a really
it just has to
big
pass a certain
outlier,
threshold
yeah.
that. Well,
So
yeah, we
into which
regulate
ideologies?
based
Just
off
like-
outliers all the time. Like if there's a power plant that's dumping an excess amount of pollutants into the river, well, that's an outlier, but we still fucking address it.
Sure,
Like,
but it sounds
yeah,
like what's
dude.
being said is just like the openness and acceptedness of like gay people and the expression
No,
of
there's
that.
there's
doesn't
like
sound that
plenty
way.
of
That's not what I'm
examples.
talking
There's
about.
plenty
Okay,
of
so like what's an
examples where-
example of like what's an inappropriate action? Like is it okay for a teacher to tell their students that they're gay?
But yeah,
Is
I don't
it?
care.
Wait, is
Oh, I
it,
just wanna
is it
know-
appropriate for the teacher themselves to go and tell this person, hey, you are this like qualifier,
it's like a
this
student coming to the
To tell
teacher
them
and
that
saying
they're gay? No, that's not
it's
appropriate.
No, I
just
think
wanna know where it
he's-
starts
what
and
he's
ends.
asking is the teacher, it's themselves to be like, a female teacher to be like, I have a wife, I'm gay.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't care.
I just
Yeah,
want to know like
that's-
where does it
sure.
start and end? Is it okay
Like,
for
that's
teachers?
just the reality, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's just the world that we live in.
Is it okay for
That's
teachers
accurately
to?
Identify
representing
this
reality.
grooming.
Is it okay for a teacher to
we-
to say that like non-binary people or trans people exist? Like what's the threshold that we're crossing, and how does it get to neo-Marxism? Is really
I would
what
say
I'm-
at this point where teachers identify certain feminine behaviors in maybe male students and try to maybe say to that kid that they're actually trans. I've seen quite a few, like unironically, like in terms of like the online trans community, I find nothing more fucking creepy than the people going on about eggs. That's that's like insanely fucking weird to me. From what I've seen anyway, it's like a group collective attempt to like gaslight a person into something.
Is that a big thing in the online left trans community? Them talking about
I've
eggs?
seen.
Wait,
I-
but
yeah.
we're
Yeah,
talking
so-
about
so-
schools.
so-
Egg is a
Oh, someone who's
euphemism
trans
for a
doesn't know,
person
yeah.
who's trans that hasn't come out as trans.
Oh.
or who
okay.
Yeah.
doesn't realize it yet. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So where is the indoctrination happening? Can you just like walk me through this step by step?
Okay, so which level of indoctrination are you asking for? Like, you want me to explain transformative social emotional learning? Do you want me to explain individual incidents? Do you want like specific policies that have been adopted? Is that what you're looking for? Like something systemic?
Social and emotional
like,
learning, I vote for.
okay, yeah.
Sure.
So transformative
Yeah, I wanna go,
social
like,
emotional
bottom up.
learning. Right. So transformative social emotional learning is kind of the new wave of indoctrination, right? So are you aware of CASEL? Are you aware of just social emotional learning in general?
Mhm.
Right. Okay. So the transformative social emotional learning is using that same process and bringing it into the classroom, but it is specifically targeting political ideology as a means of using CASEL. So they
Can you
need to
just go through
identify
a quick background of it, because I don't think the audience might be aware of it. Like,
Where
I'm
is
not
this
familiar
being
with it.
Right. So
implemented?
social emotional learning was originally developed for like problem children, right? Conduct disorder, ODD, guidance counselors. What they did is they took psychotherapy like techniques and mixed them with their education to try and like get them to socialize better, be more expressive about their feelings, have less anger issues, things like that. Then CASEL decided that
I have
teachers should
no
be
idea
doing
about
this,
this, so
which is
I
already
can't
kind of
really
like an
talk about
ethical
it.
gray area, because do they really have the expertise to be, you know, engaging in some like low level form of psychotherapy? I don't know what the right answer is. It depends on what it looks like, right?
It's
Then
interesting,
what we
but I
have
don't know.
now in academia is this idea of transformative social emotional learning, which is using that same framework, which is a means of engaging in psychotherapy with children,
Where are
like
we
en
seeing
masse,
this?
like taking children, getting them to express their feelings in front of the class, getting everyone to like put them technically in their fear zone, and then after their
What?
fears and their biases have been broken apart, we can then engage in teaching them in the learning zone, things like that. TSEL is a process that says, well, we've got to attack
What the
individualism.
fuck?
We have to teach children collectivism. We have to make sure that they're aware of their LGBT identities if they have them. We have to say like, oh, you're a black student, explain, you know, like explain your blackness, or we have to. It's basically Maoist struggle sessions 2.0.
I've
And
never heard
then
of this
what?
before.
And so, is TSEL adopted in any school framework currently? No. What it is a lot of teachers are going to teaching seminars about
Wait,
this in order to learn this
that
process.
completely.
And you can watch the teaching seminars and watch how they say,
Wait.
yes, I do this in my classroom. It's so great. Like I talk to this person and talk
What you
about
just said is that
how
it's not
they're
implemented.
Latinx, and I make the entire class recognize their Latinx identity. And this is happening in like fucking math classes. So that is an example of a pervasive thing where they are taking and they say like,
What
I can
math
actually
class?
give you leaked documents of seminars that children are having in private Catholic church schools, where they're teaching them that Jesus is actually non-binary, and that like to not be supported,
Maybe
you have
he
to
is.
do this. What's that?
Maybe he is.
Maybe
Maybe they
refers to
are.
himself as the
Maybe
son,
they are.
So probably not.
Well,
he's
yeah, but that's a whole
non-binary
conversation
are
about like
Jesus.
the split
When you're
between
saying-
gender identity, expression, pronouns, and sex. So it's still possible that they're non-binary, but they use male, like he, him pronouns.
Right. So when we're saying
God.
TSCL, the only TSCL I'm familiar with, and this could just be because I come from a bit of a separate field, is the tabletop supported collaborative learning. Is that what you're talking about? Like with the small groups? What does TSCL stand for?
I'll give you the study. I think it's got like around 214 citations.
So
that was the last time I checked.
there are empirical studies of the efficacy, or
Well,
some kind of like,
of the process.
Well, you said it
just wanted to-
wasn't.
yeah,
You said
I
it
don't know
wasn't
what
implemented in
TS
schools, though, right? You even said that in your speech. So
He said that
I mean,
they're
I mean,
trained
I mean,
But
like
you said that
social
teachers are
emotional
doing
learning
seminars
has-
for it.
I-
So again, we're not talking about a conspiracy. We're talking about enough of a percentage of
You guys-
individuals
right, you-
enacting this sort of thing.
right? You guys
But I
keep
don't
using
care
the term
if people are doing it or
conspiracy,
not
and
doing it. I
like
don't care if
I'm
you don't
not
like it or
talking
do
about
like it.
conspiracy.
this sounds like a
Talking about
fucking
I just care if it
opposing
works or
ideology
not.
that's dangerous.
Does it work? Is it good or not?
So, what's the ideology that's dangerous specifically? Because it sounds like you're not opposed to teachers talking. Are we opposed to like gender education where they come in and they talk about like how there are different orientations? Or are we exclusively concerned about teachers like imposing on children, like, hey, you might be trans, and like talking to the children about it, particularly with like no parental consent, and kind of like leading children in these ideas? Like, which part of this are we concerned about, and which part are we calling grooming or
I
indoctrination?
think
The
intentionally
non-parental
targeting-
oversight part
Yeah, I
is
think
a little sus.
intentionally targeting children and then separating them from their parents, telling them you don't have to tell your parents, that it might actually be dangerous to tell your parents, creating specific groups in schools like they did in California, where they actually identified children based off of their online behavior and based off of looking at them in the school that they thought were like having social
being
issues
so
and things like
general.
that, bringing them into a group and then saying, and then telling them that they need to switch their name in order to remain in the group. And they specifically talk about love bombing the children. Like they're extreme examples. Right?
Where is
But I
this
don't
extreme
think-
example happening? Because when
Just
some
said
of the
in
stuff that
California.
no,
Just
yeah,
said
in California,
we
yeah,
need-
like
we
I get
definitely need, like,
in California is
some-
very
I don't
vague.
want. I'd like.
No,
Look,
No, he
I
just
will-
said
look,
in a
DM
California
me.
school specifically.
DM
He
me.
just said
But I'm
that.
not. We're not
DM me
seeing.
and-
Yeah, but
No,
we need
DM me.
specific.
Well, hold on,
And I
because
will
you
give
said
you
one thing I want to specifically. You said that like
give
you
you
don't.
the-
You said that it could be dangerous to tell your parents. So like that's a really vague thing. If a kid's like, "Oh, I'm gay," and they don't feel comfortable saying it to their parents, maybe the teacher would say that, but that doesn't mean that they've groomed them to be gay. So it's like really,
Nobody
You don't
said
think it's
they
possible
grew-
that it actually could be dangerous to tell their parents?
it could be. Your parents could be dangerous depending on your parents.
No parent
Right.
has ever
And,
hurt
like,
or
let's-
abused their
let's be
child for telling them
clear.
that they're gay.
letting
Or whatever.
There's
teachers
always
say that it's
ideologues and
dangerous
bad actors.
to not tell. Yeah, of course.
There's
It's the same
always
thing with the
this.
Letting
Catholic
teachers
Church.
tell
What
their
we're talking about
children
though,
the truth
like when I
is bad.
hear like grooming or something like that, it sounds like a systematic, intentional movement by educators and from like the top
It's just he's
down
taking
to
talking
basically,
points,
like,
general talking
direct
points, and then like
children
using it.
into like herds of communist, Marxist, non-binary, gender-rejecting individuals to like basically change, I'm assuming, culture. Like it sounds like this pernicious top-down actual activity. Whereas like it's possible, right? We've got gender education and sex education that has proliferated and increased, and I'm for that, right? I want to be teaching kids that like there are fewer different languages and words, right? But if it's teachers telling kids you are trans and you must be trans, right? That's a problem. But that's about the same problem to me as a teacher also telling a kid you have autism, you have all these any sort of like diagnosis or self ID thing, right? But if the teachers are just making
the
space
trans,
for
Kid
kids,
actually have autism? Is he diagnosed as autistic, or the
the
teacher just like randomly?
The point
saying,
that she's
"Yeah,
making
no,
is
you're
that
autistic."
she's saying that you shouldn't be able to diagnose people if you're not like a mental health professional. So teachers shouldn't be doing it fundamentally. That's
and to be clear, I don't think trans identity is even a diagnosis.
Hey, are you
What
autistic?
I am
Like,
saying
what?
though is that like I think imposing on a child anything about like their own self identity is probably not super healthy for teachers to do at all. But this idea that like there's this mass group and top down.
I had to make sure I mansplain her a little bit. You know.
I don't want to say
Concerted effort.
conspiracy. I'm trying to find a better word than conspiracy. Like concerted
just
effort.
say-
Thank you. I don't want to though. I don't want to because I
I
know
don't think
that it
he's
sounds
ever said
dismissive.
that though. I
Just-
don't think
just
David or
say-
anyone
Why
else
I
ever
said
said
I'm not
that.
calling it conspiracy.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Just-
Concerted
just-
effort.
I
Just use the
personally
word
am
what
calling
is.
it a conspiracy.
Just use the academic movement that it is. Look at all of the literature regarding critical pedagogy. Just search critical pedagogy. There's massive amounts of academics that are specifically engaged in putting into the education system neo-Marxian, along with Marcusian, along with critical race theory, critical legal studies. It's an entire amalgam, right, of pretty much everything that has occurred within neo-Marxian and postmodernist philosophy since Frankfurt into the education system. You just look for
That doesn't
critical
make it
pedagogy.
bad.
Well, it sounds like
You'll
you're
find
saying you
guys,
sound like we're saying
guys,
race
I'm so sorry.
conversations.
If we can start wrapping this up in the next few minutes because we have to get to the very last.
Also, I put this study that I
Alright.
was talking about in the channel, but you'll have to find your own way to get past the abstract. Wink, wink.
Are you
It's
guys,
like if you
I
put
mean,
the word
it's
neo
interesting.
in front of something,
What
it
we
makes
have
it
to
bad
do
all
though
of a sudden.
in this claim is not only do we have
I'm
to
ready to
prove
move
that
on.
there's a concerted effort to do this, but also that it is demonstrably bad.
So like, listen, I just want to basically what Fabian's doing is he's constantly taking like he's like, oh, critical race theory is being pushed into the any conversation about race is labeled critical race theory to people like him. So it's like, okay, how honest is what you're saying? You know what I mean?
Not right, but if you're like forcing it down their throats and like shoving it down like constantly and like forcing them to do actions, okay, well now that's getting more into maybe indoctrination territory. And so like when we're talking about all these things, we have to be clear, like, is it this sinister, malicious thing? Because if it is, that's a problem. But if it's not,
it
we
doesn't have
shouldn't
to be
act like it
sinister or
is.
malicious for it to be a problem, though. Like you just
Okay,
you
if
just said
there's
right
harm.
there. Would you?
Okay,
Well, I mean, okay.
actually, I'm just
okay,
gonna quote the study.
real quick. I'm a hypothetical, real quick. Would you be comfortable with a teacher who has a religious bringing to make kids in their class confess Jesus Christ as their personal Lord and Savior?
Make kids? No, I would not be comfortable with that.
Okay, why not?
Because I would say that is the teacher basically forcing children into a certain belief.
Okay, but that teacher, wait, hold on. That teacher thinks that is the only thing that's keeping that kid from an eternal hellfire. So they think they're doing the right thing.
I don't know what to
So what's
Okay,
the
so you're asking about
harm
attention?
that you were
Church
asking
and
for?
state
Yeah.
exists.
So I already
We
said,
don't
as
have
you
a
started down this
separation of,
tribe,
like,
I said, sure, it's not maliciousness, it's harm. I'm willing to just change that to harm. That's fine.
Okay, so
Okay,
so let me just pull up. I'm going to quote this.
Would you not say that?
guys, I'm so sorry. We have
We
to
should
bring it
definitely
in.
move
We have
on.
to move
Yes,
forward. I've
yes.
got
Let me
super
please
fast
just
break.
quote the study
Yes.
that everyone has been arguing about.
Yes.
Okay.
Just like one quote. Okay, so this is under the section, and this is 254 citations. It's not a small, obscure, cited once paper. Okay, outlining transformative SEL and associated social and emotional competence, citizenship as a framing issue. They talk about the old system of CASEL and some old research, and then
Well,
they
this
say
matters.
briefly. They argued that education aimed at promoting personal, responsible citizenship and its attendant individualism, consumerism, and passively accords with a dominant neoliberal democracy. This is the dominant model. However, a critical democracy requires education to have collectivism, productive interactionism, and authentic engagement as its goal. Accordingly, the field of SEL could aim to prepare students for not only engaged, but also critical citizenship. The fucking red flags and the idea that we are training teachers to re-engage in what a critical democracy needs to be, and the having too much consumerism and capitalist thought and too much individual thought is a giant fucking problem. And the idea that this is being taught to teachers to try and use psychotherapy techniques, or we'll say guidance counselor techniques, whatever you want, to engage this with children is fucking dangerous.
What's the name of the class?
Okay. All right.
What?
So
Well, you keep saying that it's being taught, but you're saying it's not implemented. So it just kind of sounds like you're rambling.
It would be like infused into all.
No,
the
Papaga, it just sounds like you're
Okay,
not
wait a minute.
actually like
Guys,
able to
fucking
comprehend what
deny
you're
shit.
speaking about, dude. Holy
I'm
shit.
so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I want to give, since Not So Erudite was like the outlier opinion here, or it seemed like so, I want to give her a chance to respond real quick, and then we're gonna move forward. Okay, we're moving on to the next topic.
Sure, I would need to understand what critical democracy actually means. Like if essentially if this document is saying things like we're actively pushing to teach our children that we should undermine democracy, we should have a radical revolution, we should tear down our institutions and instate a supreme communist leader, I would be like, yeah, that's probably not really good. But if it's just saying like we're gonna basically LARP about new values of rather than staunch individualism, it's gonna be collectivism, and like it's like kind of somewhat infused in like how we talk about like social studies and stuff like that. It might just be a representation of the changing cultural norms, which isn't inherently sinister and bad.
If
to me.
they were
I
the
need proof of
changing
harm.
cultural norms,
Critical
why would
democracy.
teachers-
Critical
Shut
democracy.
up!
As
Shut
it
up!
refers. No, I'm
Shut
gonna
up!
fucking say this.
Shut
I'm
up!
gonna fucking
Shut up!
like, I
It's
give a
my
fuck
turn
to
to
say
speak.
this.
Okay,
I gotta-
it's my turn to speak.
Such
I-
efforts might be inconsistent with or
I'm
violate
going to fucking
existing
eat
local,
my entire
state,
arm.
and
I'm
national
going to
laws.
serve it to. I'm going to fucking cook my arm and
Oh
serve
my
it to my
God.
neighbors if you don't shut the fuck up.
Dude, these are
okay?
the mess.
Secondly, all right.
Just turn it- just-
I don't know why I keep saying this. Okay. Thank you guys for piping down. For me yelling.
Okay.
I have to read some super chats real quick. Okay?
Oh my God.
Winston.
I gotta piss so bad.
Winston Fujimori says, "I have a request. Can the females on the panel?"
Oh, there's one
the
going,
liberal,
it's a little
communist,
rough.
and Fringe libertarian included. Please allow the men on the panel to speak, namely
piss.
Keemstar and Flamenco. Very funny, Winston.
That was an old
Stardust,
super chat.
call him a ham bone.
This is a
Ham
really,
bone? What does
really
that
old
mean?
one.
He'll get it.
Christopher-
Call him a ham. Winston
Okay, you
Fujimori, you're a ham bone.
You're a ham bone. Ham bone. Ham
There
bone
we
one.
go.
Okay. Christorian X says, Keemstar, the reason pedo/grooming keeps coming up is because it's one of
These
the
are
few
old
topics
as fuck.
you can disagree without being branded an
piss
enemy
so
of a
bad.
side. Okay. Will
I
from
gotta get an
Texas
8-hour
says,
piss.
even if you think 18 is an arbitrary age
I'm gonna pee.
and greater than 18 is so close, then what is so wrong with the weird 20 to 40-year-old weirdos just waiting a few years to interact with? Why can't they control themselves? Good question. Cluebits says, what should the age of consent be for Minecraft? Anybody have any words for this?
35.
Okay. these
Children
are
shouldn't be allowed on the internet.
radically different answers. Thank
Parents
you.
should
We've got
watch what
6.
the fuck their children are doing on the computer.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
One person said 6.
True.
One person said 35. We've got Flamenco saying nobody should be allowed on the internet until
No,
they're adult.
children shouldn't be allowed on the internet. Children
right.
specifically. Yeah.
Okay, children should not be allowed on the internet. Okay, Testicle Johnson says, oh, no, he doesn't ask. He says, grooming is only half the issue. You should also shower and brush your teeth. Very good one, Testicle Johnson. Draven says, are the Marxists in the room with us right now? I don't know, Draven. Klubitz says, how do I tell whether I've been groomed into giving Stardust money? Well, if you clearly have not given enough money, so please give me more money.
Atta girl, that's what you do.
Winston
That's
Fujimori
not
also
really-
says, flamenco radicalized me. His anime and manga recommendations turned me into a right-wing jihadist. Boy Soprano makes Siege
Took a huge
read
piss.
like Harry Potter. Do you have any response to that, flamenco?
Well, at least it won't make you take meth and shoot your mailman,
Women's.
so that's a good
Women's.
thing. I don't know. I guess, like, I don't know. The main problem, I think, with this entire thing is that we had, like, a person simultaneously say that, like, there's something really weird about, you know, preying on formative minds of children, and at the same point, no, actually, certain ideologies, if they're being taught by public school assistants, that's totally cool. Malleable minds in
think
that
it's-
instance is A-okay.
I mean, I think it's fair
Yeah,
to
didn't wash my hands.
evaluate each case like individually, right? Alpha says, "Do you love black people, Star? I love black people. You have no fucking idea.
Dude, that
I
was such a good
love
piss.
black
Holy
people.
fuck.
I love them so much." Okay, thank you guys so much. If you guys
I disagree.
Wait,
Hello?
did everyone get muted? What?
What happened?
No,
I think she's
Hello?
frozen.
we're just having a moment right now. Thank you for
Rubbing-
ruining my moment, Flamenco.
Did I have a
Okay.
stroke?
No, I was having a moment with,
was obviously a joke.
Call Me Carson over here.
Okay.
Yeah, and you ruined it. So,
Sorry,
thanks,
You don't
sorry.
like black
Flamenco.
people?
Me?
Oh no, I'm asking. Sorry.
I
What
love
did you
black
say?
people.
I love
Okay,
black
never
people.
mind. Just move on to racism.
Just fucking.
Okay, all right. So, as you all may know, I have been dealing with this online. I know Not So Erudite has known because she's also seen some of it. I'm sure some of you guys have dealt with some of this online. Why is it that the left is comfortable using race-based and sex-based attacks on their opponents when things don't go their way? Is there a problem with racism and sexism on the left?
Do you have an example of this?
Please
people
give.
calling me
Please
white.
give. Yes.
Oh,
I was
just look
gonna
at-
People
say.
calling
just
me
look
white.
up,
People
just
saying I'm a
go-
Nazi.
Just look up Endless Cemetery's Twitter thread and just you'll be good.
Tagma's a better one. Tagma
What?
TV.
Tegma's the best. Tegma
I was
says
just
that
gonna
I'm
say-
white. He says that he says woman of color in quotations. The amount of sexism too that I've encountered in some of these spaces is just ridiculous. But
The,
you know,
cu-
it is
the
what it is.
cutest part is that they do what they would traditionally call like, you know, implied racists, where they're like, it's just memes, it's just a joke, and it's like, is it a joke on the other side? Doesn't look like
Yeah,
it.
you wouldn't think so because now they're all
Probably
calling
more of
me
a joke on
Nazi,
the other side,
unironically.
honestly.
So yeah.
I mean, if you want a concrete example, just Twitter search Clarence Thomas and Uncle
Yeah.
Tom. You'll
That's a good
find
one,
some
too.
gems there,
Oh, yeah.
bro.
Or the
Holy
N-word.
shit. Well, I
Tons
mean,
of N-words on that.
some of them have. I'm
So
waiting
are we
for
saying
the
that any criticism that involves race or sex is racist?
Well,
Or we just
No,
no,
so
I
this
mean,
is
because you did use the word
definition it
race
is.
based.
Bro, it's
Right,
I'm not
fucking-
saying that you
So-
said racist, but are we
Yeah,
kind
I
of
guess
alluding to that?
I guess I'm alluding to that. Basically, for an example, is like what Flamenco brought up, like people calling Justice Clarence Thomas the N-word, or for example, somebody on Twitter like implying that even though so many of my followers are like people of color and they're generally left leaning, they're insulting like people who follow me and saying that they're white and stuff, even if the person who's calling them white is white themselves. So things
Wait.
like that. Yeah.
Well, hold on, just quick. With the
People
Clarence Thomas thing, like I don't even think it matters if people are calling him an Uncle Tom. What's more interesting is that the left is going after him like almost exclusively, but not any of the other 4 white people. So when it comes to like the conversation about racism, it's interesting that a lot of progressives expect him to vote a certain way because he's black, and we'd say like, yeah, there's an aspect of I think of racism there because like you expect him to be a certain way because he's black. So yeah, I think that there's a level of progressive racism that's more difficult to detect that's been going on for a while, but it's not as easy to detect because on the conservative side, people are a little bit more outwardly like, oh, I don't like a particular thing. On the left, it's more about, I think, categorizing
We
people.
use our slurs on the left from a place of virtue and good. Okay.
Oh, really?
That's
Sure,
what
but
you guys
don't you
will just
think-
never understand?
But don't you think that it's also the case that if he, being a black man, having shared history with other black people, would have a point of persuadability, perhaps, and they're trying to leverage that.
I think that what do you mean? It sounds like you're looking at him as a black
Is this
person
like
before
the
a
Bosch
person.
argument?
You're taking
Like
the
tactical
Joe
No,
Biden.
It doesn't
you
matter if it's
ain't
before
black.
or after. They're
Yeah,
just
but like
saying,
what you're
this is a
assuming that he
feature
has,
of a person.
you're assuming that he has a particular
You're saying that
experience
he
because
is
he's
a
black.
feature of a person. You have a feature of a person, and you're saying that because they have this feature, that perhaps they have, you can draw some conclusions about what ways you can persuade them.
I don't know.
Somebody in chat is saying I thought he was
sus.
singled out. So
I don't know about that.
to be fair, somebody in chat is saying I thought he was singled out because he said we should revisit old stuff, and I do think that that's true.
He was probably also talking about Ogrefell and a couple of other things that were in there. I think if Ogrefell gets overturned, then we're gonna see like a Vosh or a San type, like unironically drop the hard R.
So there's
Is
this
it
weird
is it
thing that
unreasonable to
occurs-
assume that
What?
as a male, I would presume that you don't carry the opinion that all males should be genocided?
What?
So there's this weird thing that's happening on the left that maybe
I'm
is better to
confused.
outline. I think it's actually pretty easy to see. People are just like less comfortable calling it out because it's weird to call out your own in group, right? Like conservatives aren't mostly going to call it out because a lot of times they're like, I don't really give a fuck, right? For example, if a white ally is arguing with a conservative black man, if he consistently starts implying that he is like other people who are like somewhat race betrayers, he's essentially saying your argument is incorrect because you're black and incorrect. Like he's making a pejorative that is
True.
distinctly about not just that your idea is wrong, but also like there's this weird thing of like you're wrong and you're black, right? And it's this weird thing that happens. For example, when I get into arguing with like far lefties, they'll often talk about like how I have just these roving bands of simps, which is inherently sexist because it implies that the only reason that I have followers is because I'm like some hot Coomer brained titty streamer, which is just like pretty far from the work that I typically do. And so it actually comes out a lot of like weaponizing identity and making identity armor, but then like attacking it and then just justifying it. And it doesn't matter because as long as it furthers like your political goals, it's okay. It's like okay for me, but not for the type behavior.
Yeah, not to circle back to Jesse Lee Peterson
yeah.
again, but not every black person that's a conservative is like a Jesse Lee Peterson level advocate of like anti-black propaganda and talking points. I mean, that's just unfortunate like exaggeration that we hear made pretty regularly on the left, but we are definitely struggling to find a way to communicate with the other side that doesn't result in like petty resorts to like the same kind of tactics that we demonize them for. It's really unfortunate, but there's a lack of self-awareness on this side that's kind of making it hard to establish common ground with right-leaning moderates, which I think is something that is going to end up costing us any ability to maintain like any influence in government going forward. So it would be very interesting.
I would just make the argument that left-wing ideology is becoming increasingly racist and that it's just racist. Like, I mean, it's not, I mean, like, I would agree with most of what Natsu Erudite said, and I think it occurs on the right as well, right? Like, I mean, I think the right being more individualist, like, tend to just not care if, like, an individual that has some clout or something says something like, whatever, that's him, not me. I don't really care. So they don't really see themselves as, like, often as, like, a collective movement of people that need to self-police. But I think, like, once you get far enough into left-wing space, you're just dealing with racists. Right? Like if you find someone that's a hardcore lefty, right, and they subscribe to much of like critical race theory and things like that, they're just racist. It's a very simple answer.
Well,
like it's not a complex thing.
Why?
That's for both sides, I think. But
I'm just curious, like, what do you mean?
Oh, for sure. The ideology is very similar between people that are quote unquote extreme right, especially considering that they usually have the same economic policies, right?
Yeah.
Fascists and communists.
Well, what's the race?
Which is why, like, the majority of Americans still
what are you
identify
defining
as
as racist?
independents.
What like
Someone that
specifically on,
believes
like,
in
left?
I would say someone like my
Like critical race
definition of
theory?
racism, right? Like my definition of racism is someone that believes that one race is inherently superior to another. And I would say that like the literature kind of clearly shows that the far left believes that whites are superior to blacks.
Why does the literature show that? Like, what's an example of that?
Like if you read Stefanik and Delgado's like Critical Race Theory and Introduction 1, right? Like they explicitly and overtly say over and over again that they use power to and the creation of race, and that they have this power and that they have this ability to hold down black people.
Well,
and then
that's
you start
because-
getting into the watering down of
Okay,
what black
but
and white is.
But that's not
if
an inherent
racism
argument.
is about superiority, if superiority is the necessary and
It's gonna be
sufficient
fucking derailed
factor
'cause I can't
to
even press him on
establish
anything.
racism,
Jesus Christ.
then just because race has logical entailments does not mean that somebody is being racist when
Bro,
they point them out.
every time I try to make a point, bro.
What do you mean?
Every fucking time.
Can you be more specific as to
we get
what you
completely
mean by
fucking
logical
derailed. It's so
entailments?
fucking stupid.
If somebody observes that there
Mhm.
may be logical entailments based upon
Oh
somebody's
my God.
race, that does not mean that they are being racist.
You just repeated what I asked instead of explaining what you mean by logical entailments. Like
I
what do you
don't know
what
how
do
to
you
say it any simpler. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm on the spot here. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I'm just saying,
describe an
I have to
example
think
of what
for a
it is
second.
that you
Sorry.
specifically.
I gotta do it. I gotta
Like, give
do
me
it.
an
Like
example,
if
maybe
somebody's
I can-
saying,
Bro,
okay,
we
Clarence
fucking-
Thomas is a black man.
We went right
and
off of the
at
fucking
some
topic.
point in time, black men married to white women
I gotta
was
push
an
harder,
illegal
maybe.
thing.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
now we are in a situation where he is using the same logic that people used to use to make his relationship being illegal, the same logic that would make me not be allowed to exist, right? That logic,
What?
he is using.
What do you
that,
mean?
Right?
How-
so they're
how
saying
is
that
he
that
using
is an
logic to say that
entailment.
you don't
This is like
exist? I don't
fucking
understand.
so
No,
dumb.
I'm saying that logic would mean that I shouldn't exist because I'm half black, half white, right? That's irrelevant. The point is that they're saying that it's logically entailed by the fact that he's in that relationship, a relationship that used to be illegal, that he should not be, particularly not embracing of that same logic. That's a logical entailment of the race that he has.
What the fuck are we
That's
talking
not saying
about?
that he's superior or inferior at all, is it? So
did
therefore,
Clarence
nothing
Thomas talk
about
about
that is
this?
racist, right?
Bro, we went off the
I don't know
fucking-
what example you're talking about because I
Yeah,
don't-
like what
like,
law
you keep
was he
using this
talking
word-
about with that? Yeah.
What are you? He's talking about loving v. Virginia. Are you? Is that what you're
I'm
attempting?
talking about
You're saying
the
that he
people
thinks
pointing
we
out
should
that
revisit
Clarence
Loving v.
Thomas
Virginia?
should have. No, I'm talking about the Dobbs decision.
Dude,
the
we're
overturn of Roe v.
I gotta
Wade.
have to be more.
Okay, right. But now you're
Roe v.
talking about
Wade doesn't have
interracial.
anything to do with interracial marriage.
Right, interracial marriage is
No,
loving
it's the
v. Virginia,
argument that the
and now you're talking about
left-wingers are
logical
using.
entailments, and that doesn't make any fucking
No,
sense.
the left wingers are using the argument that he's married to a white woman,
Yes.
this race based
Dude, what the
right
fuck?
argument, to attack
Okay.
him, quote unquote.
Oh,
That's what you guys are saying?
That's true. Okay.
Oh, I didn't even know
Right?
he had a. I didn't even know his wife was white.
Yeah, his wife
Uh,
is white. Yeah.
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 Okay, so what you're
You guys are
saying
saying
is
that-
it's hold on.
Isn't
I
that what
think-
we've been talking about this whole
Let me
time?
clean
I think,
up. Let me clean up
this
what
This
you're
is
saying.
the
'cause what you're saying
racist
is like-
arguments that you guys are saying that
Yes.
he's.
So you're saying that it's not racist to look at and understand racial things and specifically attack those racial things because it's not coming from a place
Not
that
necessarily.
inherently says that there is a supremacist argument
Necessarily.
in there. Right, like right. So if I say, Clarence Thomas, you're an Uncle Tom, especially since you're married to a white woman, what you're saying is that by my definition of racist, what a racist person is, that wouldn't meet my own definition of racism. Is that what you're trying to?
Correct.
This has gotten
There we go.
very
We got to what you're saying.
woke.
Yeah.
We guys-
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. So I think using race-based attacks on people, the attack itself isn't necessarily racist. I agree with you. Any attack necessary. I would say even calling a black person the N-word and dropping the hard R isn't necessarily racist.
That's
Though it is a racial joke, it is offensive. It is something that is like society has deemed kind of like you shouldn't do that. So it's certainly breaking social norms. And I also think that it would be representative, that could potentially be representative of racial ideas. What I'm arguing is that overtly like deep left-wing
based.
philosophy in terms of critical race theory and things of that nature, that is about black liberation, for example, and has the idea that black people are a captured nationality, blood and soil within the American context, and that until the idea of race is destroyed, we will always have racist systemic oppression. Like individuals at the far left, right, in that ideological space are by nature of their their ideology that is very blood and soil and fascistic. It's very similar to Nazis, right? Anyone like Ibram Kendi is, probably the closest thing we have to a Nazi today. Like that is inherently racist. And when you're promulgating and you're captured by that ideology, that the idea that it's somehow surprising that you see racial attacks from people that are obsessed with race-based politics is not surprising at all.
Dude, this is like fucking insane.
So we're really only talking about the very, very far left, the edges, the nuts, right? We're talking about
Twitter fringes,
right?
as always.
Yeah, well, we're talking about like people
well.
saying wild shit on Twitter, right? Like
But
the
I mean,
engagement.
if we're
always
only
pushes
talking about the
racism.
nuts, then how
I
are we
mean,
going to
I don't even know if it's. I don't even know if that's a fringe. Like George Takei literally fucking said Clarence Thomas was wearing blackface. Like this is a.
Right.
This
Wait,
is
now,
this
now
is
George Takei.
We're
is
all over
the,
the place with this
like,
conversation.
Mainstream
Holy fuck.
figurehead of the left wing. He's
No, but he is a
He's
mainstream
interviewed for positions all the
figure.
time. Don't pretend. Oh, George Takei is suddenly like. Oh, I don't know.
It's
Who
so annoying.
cares what
Holy
George Takei
fuck.
says?
George Takei is one
no one
person.
treats
That's
George
an
Takei.
anecdote.
Yeah, but it's indicative of a larger cultural acceptance of saying this sort of shit. You know what I mean? Like he
Saying what
very
kind of-
prominent.
He may very well be just a very far
he
left
a very
person.
prominent. He a very prominent celebrity who is generally like
Okay.
quoted for all these like
Osama
extremely
bin Laden is a
progressive things.
celebrity.
Feels very comfortable attacking somebody based on their race and calling them essentially
bin
not
Laden.
black.
If a Hollywood
George
actor,
Takei
listen,
is-
this is the proof that you need. Nothing bad is going to happen to George Takei because of that.
Yeah,
and yet,
absolutely.
if a Hollywood actor had come out during the Obama years and said that Obama
Yeah, thank
was
God I went to go
wearing
pass, yeah.
blackface, and that we all know that he's not a real black man because he's bombing thousands and hundreds of thousands of children, and that he wants to murder brown people, and this is what happens when you vote for Democrats and we need Republicans in office. I'm pretty sure that Hollywood actor would only get jobs from the Daily Wire's movies.
Yeah,
How
I
many
don't
jobs does
defend
George Takei
anybody
have to
saying he's
show
not
in
a
the
real
last
black
20
man. I don't defend anybody saying that he's wearing blackface. I think that those particular criticisms are too far. I was only defending the logical entailments that one might make, like the criticism of him with the white woman, etc. What I explained earlier.
Once we picked
The
apart what you
issue-
were saying, I
hold
don't
on.
necessarily disagree with what you're saying.
Okay, so the issue with the left specifically doing this is the level of hypocrisy.
We went through,
right?
like, 5
it's
different
super ironic when, for example,
things here.
It's particularly annoying when it's somebody who claims to be like some of like white ally. They talk about like whiteness being bad a lot, and then when a conservative minority member speaks out against them, they attack them on racial lines. Like that's
It
the
doesn't
shit
even have to
that's
be
wild.
conservative. Doesn't even have to be
Yeah,
conservative. It can be
well,
like
conservative
it can
in
be
their view.
center. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the most insane stuff, because it's basically saying like, we will fight for you and your rights as long as you fucking agree with us, right? It's like, get in line. And it's so deeply hypocritical. And it's like, the reason why I care about this more is because like it's like my side of the spectrum doing this, and it's really, really problematic. And then people act like it's just like kind of okay. Like the fact that people like get away with saying this stuff on the left, it shows to me that anyone who's saying I care about, for example, like not being a fucking racist, you're a liar. If you're lying if you say that and you don't call out people who engage in this behavior.
I mean, we've already had people comfortable with attacking people by race already, with on the left specifically. Like Stardust was literally being made fun of because she's white, which is a little weird when you think
No,
about it. For
that's what I'm talking
half a
about.
yeah, I know,
Yeah,
I
no,
know.
that's what
But
she's
like,
talking
but like, it's sort of like the natural conclusion of
Every time he talks, it's
sort
like
of
he has to disagree
idea
with somebody,
that everything
specifically
that,
her,
is
but
tied to
when
your
they
racial
agree.
identity, and
It's weird.
we have to we have this like progressive stack where like, well, this person's words are a little bit more valued than this person's simply based on their race, and they need to, you need to shut up and listen and all that stuff. You're going to see like a lot more of
It's
this
a great example.
because
That Maori guy made a meme, you guys know the meme of that one white chick, and then she's sitting on the couch and there are like a bunch of black dudes like behind her and stuff.
yeah.
He made a meme, but it was like supposed to be of me, and then a bunch of KKK members like standing in the back. And so
Christ,
like
what the fuck?
So like for if that was done by anybody on the right, they would be losing their shit, saying like, "Oh, that's so misogynistic."
I
But if
borderline
it happens to
rapey.
me,
I
if
disagree.
it's done to me and it's done by somebody on the left, it's totally okay. It's funny. It's just a meme, guys.
I think you guys are, and Anatsurda and Stardust, I think you guys are mistaken, and in the who is actually most affected and targeted by this. I don't
Hey
think
guys,
the
I gotta
left,
drop off. Thank you, Stardust, for having me. I hope I talk to you all again soon. Have a good night.
Thank you for joining us, Portland.
Have a good
So
one.
I actually disagree. What I think is really interesting is like, so
What's
I
that?
can get away with more than either of you two can, right? And the reason I say that is because I think what's actually occurring is policing of the left by the more radical left against individuals that they consider to be liberals, neoliberals, center left, right? They're trying to maintain the ideology and not have it watered down by people that are center left. And I think they often look at people that are on the right or in other places of
What
the
made 'em
political
this way?
spectrum as lost causes. Because like I have seen you guys get attacked by the same people and along racial lines, and then I'll tweet out shit like, you know, we should abolish the Civil Rights Act and we should get rid of all child labor laws, and like they got nothing to say about it, even in a direct conversation with me. So I don't know so much that it is actually that they're like that the left is immune from the criticism and that like the right are like, you know, vehemently gone against. What I think it is it's more micro than that. I think
it's
it's
that people don't take
center
that
left.
seriously.
It's okay
Let's
to
get
police your
child
own
labor
and
laws.
force them back into where they belong because you're being too nice to the right.
It's interesting. I don't know if you read Slate Star Codex, but in it he talks
this
about
is
like in-group, out-group associations, and kind of argues that essentially like the right
Yeah, those are
isn't the
Squishmallows, yeah.
out-group of the left or the far left. The center left is the out-group of the far left,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
why.
okay.
Right. That's why. So like this most kind of moderates seem to be almost be occupying kind of like this maybe like a third group or maybe a fourth. Like I don't know the number of groups, but it seems to be the case that like far leftists. I mean, they even say it, right? You're not our in group. You're not part of it. But out groups, if you look like historically, especially, out groups are almost exclusively more like people who are like kind of similar and more close to you versus somebody who's like really far from you. Like it's easier to attack like your neighbor for being an out
Right.
group than it is to attack like somebody in fucking Australia that you've never met because you don't care about them.
Nor know what the hell their life or anything or their arguments or anything about them, right?
Right. And so it's like it's interesting because it's kind of I see this on the right as well. Like the far right will often attack the more moderate right more viciously than the left ever attacks the right. Because it's like it's this weird kind of like now we've actually got four groups going on, which is why like Destiny kind of did this analysis of like maybe we've got more of like this like establishment, anti-establishment. I would basically argue like the problem isn't the left and the right. The problem is tankies and Nazis. Like that's the real problem when we're talking about like social stuff.
Can you send that to me?
Exactly.
Well,
Nuts.
I don't know. I don't know. There's like people pretty in the establishment that have some pretty fringe ideas too, though. So I don't know about like that's the. It's only a problem of like people who are like a little too edgy on some sides because I don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, I would say status are the problem, but you know, whatever.
It's also
Yeah.
the silence of anybody who's like when we were talking earlier, and I was trying to defend what I thought was the bigger issue, but like that being conflated with the nuts, and then people saying things that not saying, but when we, sorry,
I believe in you.
sorry, we
This guy
we
high?
are so quick to
This guy's high
try
as
to
fuck.
stand up for our own side. We always we are quiet. We don't always God damn, I'm so sorry. Yeah, you know, but
I'm
you
gonna take off
yeah.
right now, guys. By the way.
Later.
Okay, thanks for joining us.
Whoa.
have a
Doc.
good one.
It's getting smaller.
Yeah, have a good one. Sorry guys. Yeah, we don't
I think I have the same
speak up
vinegar as
against
that
our
guy.
own side because it's politically convenient to keep our mouths shut and to keep benefiting from whatever advantage that they convey to us.
Okay.
Hold on, can we? I just want to backtrack a little bit. You mentioned before, we kind of got off topic a little bit, but you were making a comparison between people who think that like one race is superior, like you know, like I guess white supremacists, versus people who acknowledge the existence of versus people who acknowledge the existence of systemic racism and how it favors white people. Is that? And you were saying that both of those things were racist?
Well, I think when you become obsessed with racial groups, right, and then you presume an ideology before looking at the evidence, right? So critical race theory, for an example, it always presumes racism and it always presumes systemic racism before doing any analysis. And then what it attempts to do is its two means of argumentation are stand ground or standpoint epistemology, and then historical analysis, right? So it's an impossible ideology to really argue against, because you can't look at progress, or you can't look at individual cases that don't fit the narrative that they have, because the stand ground epistemology must be based around the assumption of racism in and of itself. And what you end up finding, right, is because these things always exist, the framework is now used in a racial supremacy framework. So even though they might not say that they believe that race doesn't exist, for example, right? Or unless they're black liberation types, like these two kind of like mixed together, like, you know, Liberation Army people and like CRT people, they conflict sometimes. But as a coalition, right, what you will see often is, oh, well, see, these systems always exist. And therefore, what we must have is we must have equity. We must have diversity initiatives. We must punish white people. We must make it to where Asians have to get higher SAT scores, right? You start to see these things where they're implementing a system of where they ignore the individual for the collective identity around a framework. And once you challenge that framework, they will use their race-based obsessions to attack you specifically, because that's their whole fucking framework. The moment you start challenging, like, well, hey, maybe Asian people like should be able to get into Harvard at higher rates if they happen to have higher SAT scores and things like that. The moment you say something like that, then that's the moment you start getting, well, you're just an Uncle Tom, or like you're a this word or something like that, because their framework is so racial in the way that they view the world. So like maybe not the actual philosophy that underpins it is exactly the same, right? But the kind of like consequences of the way that it engages with the outside world has the same consequences, which is race-based attacks and being obsessed with race and racial hierarchies.
Okay, so you're saying that like people acknowledging systemic racism exists, that's not racist. It's just people that take it too far. Is that what you're trying to say?
I would say that it's less so racist as it is to ideologically captured by a dangerous philosophy.
Well, no, that's fine. I just wanted to separate the concept. I thought what you were saying was that you think that people acknowledge like systemic racism are somehow racist because they understand that white people tend to perform better due to a history of systemic racism.
I would say that there's some problems and they have a pernicious ideology. I don't know that it's necessarily racist, but the problem is that it's really complex to like pick apart all these things, right?
Well, yeah, sure, but I mean, just generally, we know that we know that systemic racism exists. Or
I don't know that they're. I don't know.
He's saying that we can't stop looking at the
world, but they will behave like racist.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was just trying to. All I thought was you were saying like anybody that acknowledges like systemic racism was racist. But what you seem to be saying is the people who take it too far.
What I'm saying is
I got it.
What I'm saying is that they might not be racist, but they will act like racist.
Sure,
the way that they behave in the world is just like racist.
Sure, okay.
Well, that, and also when you tier things, and like the only way that you understand of how to tier things or perceive things is through a racial lens. You're gonna see racism in anything that you can to attack it, and that's why again George Takei has to be like, well, wait, fuck, but Clarence Thomas is black. Fuck, how do I stop that? Well, I stop saying that he's black. I call him wearing blackface. He's not real black because he doesn't agree with my and that's that's the only way that he's able to perceive through the world, which is I think something that you're kind of grappling with right now.
The real thing is that there's not
had a hard time parsing what Fabian was saying for the last like 10 minutes.
The real difference, real pull apart here thing to understand is that
hold on, wait, what did you say? I'm sorry.
I'm going to clean it up for
No, not you, the dog. I just was wondering what was the point that you...
I was saying that you're only able to parse this through like the in-group, out-group thing, and that like his saying that people will use the race as an attack thing because that's the only means in which they know it, and then you parse that as, well, but they're saying systemic racism is real, and you're saying that's the same as being racist. And,
well, no, I was listening to, so before this was like probably 20 minutes ago before everything got derailed. He had brought up about how like there's different types of racism, right? So one thing he was saying is that there are people, specifically like white supremacists, I believe he mentioned, that think that like one race is superior to another, or white people are superior. And then he just started talking about critical race theory, saying that like on that side that there's racists as well, because they focus on things like the fact that there is a system where white people perform better, et cetera. And he says that it's racist somehow to acknowledge that. So trying to press him specifically on what he was saying. Problem is, it's been 20 minutes.
More
you just have to stop talking. Problem is that we went on for 20 minutes, so I couldn't really press him on that point, and that was it. So then I pressed him on the point, and it seems like he's referring to when people like take it too far and they look at everything through that lens. So he clarified that. I don't know why like you seem to desperately try to like target specific people to try to frame everything as like poorly as possible, so that you could like spurg out.
You've been, like,
not just me, not just me, like erudite
as
as well. And like I think it's interesting that you're saying that people are woefully misinformed. But I mean, like, you're probably the most fucking like
you've been
spurging out all day.
You were hold on. You were literally talking about people being jailed or fined.
I didn't
for going out of state seeking an abortion.
I specifically mentioned this is really bizarre. I specifically mentioned that
it's
like
really bizarre when you make up shit.
Cool. So I specifically mentioned that they're talking about criminalizing it to an extent that you could get arrested for it, you could get charged for it, and then
I asked you to cite what
sure, okay, you're right, and then you just continuously
considered.
like you just always just stop talking for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and then I mentioned like that there was legislation being proposed in Texas and Mississippi, and the only response could have been like, "Oh, these aren't something that's going to be implemented." But for some reason, when somebody makes a mistake, you harp on it so much, and then you just drag it through the entire thing.
Yes,
it seems incredibly disingenuous.
When people in a debate setting get caught out literally making shit up, that is.
But nobody was making anything up because these are things that were proposed, right? So it's not making it up.
Where news article, please, thank you.
Sure.
The Texas one doesn't actually say that, so you might as well look for Mississippi because Texas didn't have it.
So yeah, Texas and Mississippi.
I'm still waiting for. I'm still waiting for the
Texas
article
one
on
literally,
the,
like Erudite's
on the Catholic.
Erudite source literally says that that's not the case in Texas. So
I'm
finding
still
in
waiting on
Mississippi,
the
if you
news
wouldn't
article
mind.
about the public schools grooming people more than.
Yeah, especially since I tried to bring up before about like people potentially being denied drugs to treat their autoimmune disease, and you melted down. So he's like, cite your sources, and I was trying to tell you, and you're like, no, that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist because like it doesn't align with you're just very focused on contradicting people. You did. I was trying to talk about it. You're like, oh, well, where's the article? Where's the source? It's not criminal. I was just talking about how people weren't able to get access to some particular medications because the pharmacists weren't going to prescribe them.
Because one person said that on Twitter.
Exactly. But then when we have like a deranged conversation about like a conspiracy theory, you're all on it as long as it aligns with your political ideology. But it's not just one person saying it. Like you could Google it yourself and take a look. Like there does seem to be some pharmacists who are afraid of prescribing it because they don't want to get arrested or they don't want to get in trouble because it's associated with like with an abortion medication, because it is an abortion medication, but generally it also can be used in low doses to treat autoimmune diseases.
Yeah, I'm all for medical freedom, but regardless, I think maybe the point that I'm missing.
This guy's a fucking moron, dude.
Illustrates the issue here is that normal people view race as like they view it as a skin tone, right? And they view it as and they view it as a social construct around skin tone. I think normal people have accepted that. That to a certain degree, right? They've accepted that there's like black people, but then there's, they've accepted some idea of like colorism and like shades of blackness. And like, they've accepted that like Obama's considered black despite being half white because because of the social construct of race. The difference is that when you're talking about people that are on the radical left or people that are ideologically captured on the left that are like promulgated because of their spiciness much higher in places like Twitter, right? That are kind of like rage bait. That's what gets brought to the top. You're talking about people that don't view blackness and whiteness as a social construct around the skin color as much as that plus an ideology. They believe that blackness and whiteness are ideologies. And so when you go away, when you do something that is considered anti-black, like Clarence Thomas doing something in Roe v. Wade, and you're like, well, how does that par? What you have to understand is that it's layered with other neo-Marxian philosophies, right? It's layered with critical theory. It's layered with anti-capitalism. It's layered with these other things. And so when you're doing something that attacks minority groups from their position, you're being anti-black. You're no longer in the ideology of blackness. And so there is a certain understanding that when someone is black, but they're engaging in whiteness or white supremacy, that like you can start attacking them in that way. I feel like I've triggered Not So Erudite and she's mad at me, but like also it's been such a shit show.
No, I'm drawing a
she's
picture
waiting.
of flamenco sitting on a straw.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm drawing a picture of flamenco sitting on a bale of straw because it seems like all he can engage with is straw men of people anyways. So
wait, what straw man did I engage with? He literally said that there was proposed legislation in Mississippi that would criminalize people going across state lines for an abortion.
I didn't say that necessarily was a straw man. I think you've been engaging in straw mans for a
Okay,
lot.
well, that one specifically was definitely not a straw man. That was literally something that happened.
Well, I think the issue is the absolute disproportionate response, rather than saying like, "Hey, this thing is not necessarily correct," versus like having an absolute meltdown and harping on it throughout the entire conversation. It's a very disingenuous tactic.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Does anybody want to engage with the
Yes, I
philosophy
should just
there,
go
or
and
are we
make up
just doing
shit,
this
and
shit?
then I guess say that you're melting down if you
Okay.
challenge me on it. I guess.
Well, no,
Faction-
again, it's a
faction
disproportionate
nationalists, do you have
response.
anything
Yeah.
to say about like the idea of blackness and whiteness as an ideology, as opposed to
Yeah.
the way that normies look at it?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I think that it was more about I don't want to like misunderstand the idea of in-group out-group dynamics because I'm not like well versed in that kind of thing, but it seems to me like the ideology that you're describing there, the whole where blackness is a thing that you do, you know, that's more of
almost like
the
praxis, yeah.
struggle of trying to define oneself, not oneself, more like themself, right? Versus the struggle against whoever is opposed to them, right? This group of people feels, whether or not it is, I don't know if you want to concede to the fact that black people have been oppressed or not, but they definitely feel that way. I think we'd agree that there are a lot of people that feel that way.
I mean, like,
so
obviously,
they're going to try
historically,
to define themselves, and in that way, that's where you get that phenomena that you're describing. I don't know if that's that out-group, in-group, out-group dynamic thing that you guys were talking about earlier. I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this isn't the right place for it, but the reason that I believe that that you see people on the far left attacking center left people, I think Natsuerda makes a great point about what actually is considered to these people in group and out group, and like their familiarity and their ability to police that. But I think the other element here is the idea that whiteness and blackness are ideologies from their prescriptive beliefs, and so you're not looking at it the same way that that people that are not so ideologically captured would view race. We're viewing race as a skin color and partially a social construct, but we're not viewing blackness as an ideology usually. Like we're like,
Yeah, but you
no,
can't
that
take
person's black.
You just can't take the race out of the context of history and the reality of the facts of what has happened in this country and all over
I'm
the
not
world.
doing that. I'm describing their ideology and why they might be more inclined to attack people based off of their skin color, specifically minorities, and why it isn't necessarily super hypocritical. It's just that, or sorry, hypocritical. It's just that people don't actually understand the ideologies that these people promulgate.
No, I think it can be very hypocritical, especially it depends on the specific. That's why when we first started this whole thing, I was just like, can we bring up specific examples so we can pick them apart and say, okay, this one for sure, definitely hypocritical, definitely racist, definitely blah blah blah, and this one, not so much. But if we're going to talk about the nuts, then you're going to say, yeah, these are nutty.
Yeah, but two things. One, I don't know that the thing about like the thing about ideologies is that they're not fully represented in any individual, right? Like people kind of like
Sure.
Like Christopher Hitchens, called it cafeteria religion, right? Where Christians would like pick and choose what they like, and then they would kind of like set other parts about the Bible, like, oh, wearing two fabrics, like we can set that one aside, right? You know what I mean? Like, and so there's that, but then also a lot of people that are ideologically captured don't necessarily understand the ideology that they espouse. And I don't think that that's a controversial take to say that there are people that are radically left wing, and if you were to ask them, okay, well, like, what is Hooks actually talking about here? What is Stefanik and Delgado actually talking about? Have you actually read Ibram Kendi? And a lot of them would say, like, no, like they have their talking points and they have a kind of a worldview associated with their in group, but they don't actually understand the ideology. And so what I'm trying to describe here, elucidate here, is that the way that they view race is different than the way that we view race. And if we don't tackle that and understand that, then you're not going to understand why people that are really left wing will attack like neoliberals and liberals and center left people that are racial minorities based on their racial characteristics when they step out of what they view as blackness into what they view as whiteness.
So
No,
you're
I get what
basically
you're
saying
saying.
that like they basically view
Like we
racial
established
lines
that before.
more not just as like skin
Right.
color.
We
but as
established that whole thing.
ideology,
Like,
and
yeah,
therefore if
people-
they're attacking a black man
definitely.
who doesn't hold to what they would view as a black ideology, that now it's justified because they're not attacking his race, they're attacking his bad ideology.
They're attacking him for being a white supremacist, despite the fact that he's black, because he's engaged in whiteness ideology.
Or a race traitor, essentially.
We established just like the beginning of the conversation.
Potentially. I think, I mean, I don't, it probably doesn't go as deep and like as thoughtful. Probably for the most of them, the reality is that like, this is the issue with like the idea of like, let's get rid of all sexism and racism, is that we're really far from it. And these like implicit stereotypes, or like stereotyping is like, unfortunately, like a very normal thing for our brains to do. And the problem is when your stereotypes become negative, obviously you need to like figure that out. But it's a deeply human condition to like hold stereotypes of any patterned group.
I want to do a univariate analysis. Like I agree, there are other factors at play here, like 100%.
Yeah, and so like a lot of times I feel like when I'm engaging with these individuals, there's just like there's no conception of what they're doing is wrong, because they're just so hell bent on winning, right? Like it's a lot of times it feels like it comes down to like these like petty misunderstandings of like, I just really want to win, and I'm just gonna like stand for my ideology. And it's kind of like, because I'm gonna be honest, I think everyone does this. I see conservatives very much do like, it's okay if it's me but not for thee, right? There's tons of conservatives who will be like super rude and nasty and like insensitive, and then the moment you're like rude and nasty back, they'll be like, oh, you're being so rude, right? And like this idea of like hypocrisy is just like rampant on all sides, because I think like people are like mostly automatons that are never actually fucking thinking about anything or trying to like make themselves better.
I would also
Well, then there's
posit
also
that
people that are like actively telling them that there's actually nothing inherently wrong with hypocrisy, and that you
well, that's
should
the
just.
dialectic.
Well, I mean that's literally what Vosh believes. So that's like
that's the dialectic.
We're all inherently
Like,
that's fucking sad as fuck. Holy shit.
So
But
and just to be honest, moderates do
default.
this too. Like this is the issue, is like a lot of these things are like deeply human things. It's just like I try to do it, like when I think about these things, I try to be like, all I want to do is teach people to think well. Because I think if we just like started talking about thinking well and stop focusing on like fucking ideologies, we'd probably just be like broadly improved. Because like moderates are hypocrites too a lot of the time, right? Like moderates who are kind of like pissed off at Keffels are kind of celebrating Keffels getting banned on Twitter, right? Of being like, yeah, see a bitch. Especially like, what if Keffels got banned on Twitter for something like wasn't super valid, right? A lot of people would still be okay with that. And it's like, yeah, but you weren't okay. You're only okay with that because you just hate Keffels, not because this aligns with any of your ideology. Like people spout a lot of values and they very rarely live by them, which is why I tell people, like when they say like, I care about this, I'm like, no, you fucking don't. Like you say that you care about it. You don't actually care about it, because it's hard to
Can I
care
also
about
point just a whole nother element here, which I think social media in general encourages narcissistic behavior.
Oh yeah,
I'm not
definitely.
saying narcissism or NPD or anything like that, but I just mean this idea of like, if I want engagement and I want to be seen and I want to be known and I want things to go viral, what do I need to do? I need to engage in whataboutism. I need to attack other people. I need to be spicy. I need to never admit that I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Like, and like, I need like all of these things, like it brings that to the forefront. And so we're far more likely in general to see people like engaging in that behavior than, let's say, see two people having a rational conversation. Like that's not spicy. Nobody sees that shit.
Also, I don't necessarily
only do
know
that
if I
because
would
they get
say
the
that like people in the moderate positions are more or like as inclined to be hypocritical. I think generally like the hypocrisy and the need for like being the strongest, most staunch voice on this and never being seen saying that you're wrong or anything is primarily people who are on the fringes.
Do you consider yourself a moderate, right?
Probably to an extent
Okay.
anyway.
I think so. Here's the thing. I think if you're a moderate on any side, you're actually moderate. Being like center is essentially now your in group, and it's really hard to see this shit when it's your own in group, and it's painfully uncomfortable to call it.
I'm saying that I think also like moderate people on the left are also generally a little bit more inclined to be worried about being perceived as hypocrites. And having like a massive problem with it, like if I were to say an example of like say as we're going into like if we're going into like scales of these things, like a Vosh type or a Nicholas Fuentes type, people who are both on ideological extremes on other sides are a lot more worried about their perception of always being seen right, and therefore being even acknowledging or even conceptualizing the idea of hypocrisy being a negative is something that they're not going to do, by and large anyway. Like you can't really.
I'm not sure if they think hypocrisy is. I don't think that they're.
Vosh outright says that as long as you are ideologically winning, then hypocrisy is completely
Vosh,
meaningless.
I might be willing to believe on because
Fuentes, I believe, would also probably either hand wave any sort of perceived hypocrisy away, or if there was a person bringing up hypocrisy. I think one of the best examples is that how he's
dismissing of hypocrisy. I would see it like Vosh might be
the dialectic intentionally keeps contradictions. To be a far leftist is to believe that hypocrisy is impossible to get rid of and that you must maintain contradictions. Whether or not they know this.
What?
I don't
far leftist, you said?
I guess
far leftist?
I guess an example of this is I think one of the funniest things that I think I've heard is I don't know how much you guys are aware of the Fuentes and Groyper stuff, but there's a long-standing meme that Fuentes is actually gay or something, and I think one of the funniest things that I think I've ever heard him say is that it's actually impossible for gay people to have sex. Because sex is only when you make babies, and anything that a man does with a man is friction. So
I'm just kind of
impossible to have gay sex.
Really going on.
And I'm just is this laying down the line for something? It's I don't know. It's just it's very I don't know. I think
if you're a cat boy, you're either going to believe in Keffels or you're going to believe in Nick Fuentes.
I think that the best way to fight hypocrisy
paths of the ideological extremes lead to cat boys.
What did you say, factionalist?
I think the best way to fight hypocrisy is for us to embrace the fact that we are all hypocrites, at least at some point in our life, and that it's an unavoidable thing. It's the default setting of a human being is to at some point be a hypocrite. And then from there, you can build off of that. You can learn your hypocrisy and try to fight it within yourself and become a better example of that. But only for yourself. That's the only way to fight the hypocrisy.
I would say to an extent, humans are flawed. I don't know if I would say everyone's has the same level of hypocrisy inherent in them.
No, not the same level,
say that,
of course, but
people all have
level,
flaws.
any level.
Just like Keemstar,
So guys, if you don't mind, I think we're getting to a good point to wrap up. I'm just going to go over a couple of super chats and then we'll do outros if you guys want, if that's okay. Testicle Johnson says Stardust is the savior of the white race. This is very true. I have now, since being declared white, I am challenging Nicholas J. Fuentes, MF Endless, and anybody else who dares for the title of savior of the white race, because I demand that title now. If people are going to call me that, I demand to be the savior of the white race. So come at me, bitches. Infallible Foul.
Who are the judges for this? What judges will you be procuring to determine who's
I have that FD signifier
no,
in
not
there.
so erudite's a good one. So. Yeah. I'll figure out a panel of people. Infallible Foul says, is Joe Biden far left or is this a completely different issue? It's ridiculous to think you're either a neolib or a racist. I'm not really sure what that's in reference to.
Say Biden is
more
in his party, neoliberal, but he also pays lip service to a lot of progressive ideology stuff.
The philosophy speaks through him sometimes, right? And you see
that might be more akin though to what his handlers are telling him to say and pay lip service to, so that he can.
I don't know that he'll ever be on the far left when he said things like that he didn't want integration because he didn't want his children growing up in a racial jungle.
Yeah,
I don't know that you call that guy far left.
So let's go around, give our outros, guys. First off, let me thank you all. Thank you so much for joining this. It was a little bit of a mess, but I think hopefully you guys had fun. So let's start with Papa Gut. If you want to give your.
It was fun. I don't know. It was fun. It was cool. I don't really have much else to say. It was cool. I always enjoy coming on here. So.
Thanks, Fabian. Did you want to shout yourself out, Papa Gut?
Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm Papa Gut. Just Google it. You could just Google it. Yeah, I figured. Okay. That's it.
Go Google him. Okay. Fabian Liberty.
Such a humble man. Doesn't want to try and force people to come check him out.
Well,
even if they like him. But fuck all of you. Fuck all of you.
Since we're-
Definitely look up Fabian Liberty. All right, Fabian Liberty on YouTube, on Twitch, on Twitter. Just recently made Twitter a couple months back. We're trying to get some Twitter followers. Let's go. Do a lot of cool content. Do a lot of
says he's fat online?
like
I wish
occasionally
that's
do
what it
something
said.
akin to journalism. Mostly just news reaction, the occasional philosophy nights, some gaming and stuff, and a lot of interviews. We're doing a lot of interviews. Tuesday we will be interviewing Dr. Walter Block, who invented evictionism, which is one of the prominent libertarian arguments that can both maintain that abortion is murder and that a woman has a right to choose. It is the only one that I'm so far aware of so far that can have both of those without contradictions. So you should definitely check him out. He's also a famous Austrian economist. So if you want to learn about like hardcore
Fart online.
anarchist capitalists in economics, you should check him out. But again, Fabian Liberty, wherever you go. Thank you so much, Stardust, for having me. These are fun. Love coming onto the YouTube space from time to time. I appreciate it. See you around.
Factitionalist.
So yeah, thank you so much for having me, Stardust. I had a lot of fun. Thank you guys all for the conversation. It was a good one. Check me out on Atheist Edge and the Factitionalist Network. Just did a video with Stardust. We talked about the Roe v. Wade overturning and had a lot of good information there for you guys, especially if you know anybody in one of the states that has lost the right for abortion. So
I should have said
if
on
you
Wings
are in one of those
Redemption.
states, check out that video.
Yeah, I fucked up.
Share that video with
fucked up.
anybody in the states so that we can get the word out on what we can do. That's it.
Awesome. Flamenco.
You can find me on Flamenco TV. I'm pretty good to watch if you guys want to have like any sort of drama content or something like that. And I also find myself in the midst of like multiple random fights with people all on the internet. It's really fun, and generally people like it. So
I should have
you should
explained
tune
my
into me
joke
at
at the beginning.
youtube.com/Flamenco TV, or you should follow my good friend Flamingo TV _YT, because I'm banned off of Twitter. They really don't like you saying the word retard. It's very annoying.
Oh, I gotta watch out for that one.
Yeah, no, unironically, don't ever fucking say retard on Twitter.
Okay.
Oh, you're muted, not Sweardite.
I just said, okay. My turn. My name is Not So Erudite. Thank you, Stardust, again for inviting me. I super appreciate it. I love being on your podcasts. And, you know, there's not a lot of women left in the space who are still kind of somewhat moderate. So stick together, I guess. Yeah, it was nice meeting all of you. I think most of you half of you I've met and half of you I haven't. Papa Gut and Kaz. I think you said your name was Kaz. It's nice to meet you. Flamenco, Fabian Liberty. Flamenco, I hope the straw man version of me is just as cute and attractive as I am. Fabian, I always enjoy actually talking with you, so appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Feel free to hang out if you want. But I'm probably gonna switch things over to a different YouTube, just for like, you know, splitting up.
Biggie predicted you? What the fuck does that mean?
So, yeah.
Yeah, that made sense.
Yeah.
No, I
makes
don't
sense
think she
to
just
people
hit on me,
understand.
Ash. I think you're weird.
That was him testing the waters, just so you know.
No.
100%.
Wait, can I just say one thing?
Accidentally leave my mic open.
Can I say one thing?
My girlfriend actually watches these things, so no.
That's why you do a tester, see if she DMs you. You know what I mean?
No.
Wait, I have one thing to say because nobody laughed. Like just like last time I did my opening joke, nobody laughed when I said I invented cotton candy. The joke was Keemstar was Keemstar was melting down because Ninja took his flavor of cotton candy. So once he came in here, I just did everything I could to fuck with him.
Okay.
No,
All
I
right.
get it. I just wasn't
it wasn't
laughing.
funny.
I'm glad that I was able
Yeah.
to strong arm him into
What a shame.
I'm glad I was able to strong arm him through Doc. Like he wanted to get on. I was like, well, Doc, he has to take back that I'm cringe. I'm just happy I got to do that. So. Yeah.
Well, I wonder.
It was a pleasure having Doc on here. He was really good. Also, one of my friends who's a little bit on the right was interested, so I'll send you his contact information
Sure.
for you, Stardust.
I love that. Yeah. What were you saying, Papa Gut?
I don't remember.
You're talking about Keem and how.
Oh, I wonder why he. I wonder if the real reason he came on here was just to try to bother me with whatever the fucking point he had made before.
I think it was.
He literally said that.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's impossible. Like, he sat through like an hour of conversation just to try to get what he thought was like some kind of like a hypocritical moment. It was a little bizarre. Yeah.
I mean, just, you know what? Take it as
weird.
a compliment that you're relevant enough to need to be
Well,
attacked by Keem.
Keem and I have a love-hate relationship. Like, we've been talking about privately the idea of doing a podcast together. Like, we're...
There you go.
Yeah, no.
Ooh, there you go.
I know. That's a fucking two old pieces of shit. I wonder how
Wait,
interesting.
which one's the Trisha Paytas in that relationship, though?
I think it would be Keemstar. I think I would be the Ethan Klein, right? Yeah.
Are you gonna try to get him to have a breakdown on stream
No,
every episode?
You don't have to really try too hard for that, right? So,
No.
Am I the only one that like saw that podcast as like Ethan Klein just gradually trying to get Trisha Paytas to have more and more meltdowns on stream?
I mean, maybe. I think he was just
Okay.
fucking with her, but like that would be the obvious outcome, I guess, but depending on the day. I think he was just fucking with her, and he didn't realize how unhinged she could be, depending on how much medication she was taking.
I think he was genuine about saying that she was one of his closest friends. I think he was genuine about that at some point.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I think people that don't educate themselves in a specific niche field will eventually get to the point where they will just do more and more worse things for drama and clicks.
Oh yeah,
Fuck
absolutely.
You, Fabian. Fuck you. I will do whatever the fuck I want to.
Well, no, you're educating yourself in a specific niche field, which is being the savior of the white race.
Yeah. Well, if you look at whiteness as what were we talking about before, as just like a state of mind instead of an actual skin tone, you're very white, I think.
What is that supposed to mean?
Well, you don't hate white people, so you're
My question
white by
to you
association.
is it okay to be white?
Oh, that's a tough. I don't think so. I think that you
As
have
an
to
ideology?
you have to distance yourself
By the
from your
way,
whiteness
guys,
as much as possible by criticizing other white people.
Chat. I'm
Don't
so sorry.
tell her that it's a trap.
Okay, chat. I have to let you know. You guys have to signal boost this. I actually want people to notice this. That I'm challenging people for the title of savior of the white race.
God.
I think this is the best thing. So please signal boost my tweet. Thank you so much, chat. I love you. So yeah. Factitious.
Can't
I'm
say
sorry you have
trap
to see me
anymore,
like this.
apparently.
I'm so sorry you have to see me like this. I'm not. I'm only doing it because the other people were trying to antagonize me, so I figured I'd lean into it. So.
All these white people.
All right, well, y'all have a good one.
Have a good one.
Take care. Take care.
Bye.
I'm out of here. Good night, y'all.
Peace.
See ya.
Peace out. Peace out. Just the women left.
True.
Wait, what?
Just us
So
girls.
true.
You know.
Just us girls.
No.
Thank you so much for watching, guys, and another special shout out to all my Patreon and Twitch subs. If you'd like to support this channel further than you already have by just watching the video alone, go down to the links below where you can sub on my Patreon, which will allow you to get your name on this beautiful black wall. Or you can go to the Twitch page and you can actually use a free Amazon Prime sub, if you have Amazon Prime, to subscribe. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.